What do you mean my audio is coming through? Oh, okay. I am talking now. Oh, so I'm just talking to myself. I'm not actually... Oh, I am coming through now. It's just such a long delay that it took forever for me to hear it. Yo. That's right. Yay. I'm not depressed. I'm just kind of, like, Yakuza's taking a long time. Is what I'll say. Yeah, I mean, it is. I'm just questioning I'm not committed to the cause, I think is what I'm saying. But that's okay. I mean, we've crossed the halfway point, so now it would just be annoying if we didn't finish it. Yeah. I had to get, while I was waiting for you, I was downloading images on Shutterstock. I got like a free, trial or whatever, and then downloaded all the images I wanted and then canceled it. So, hey, look, I've given them money in the past, so it's not like they haven't made money off of me. What, that buying a lottery ticket is interesting? Yeah, I don't think it matters. Eventually you're gonna have to do all these side quests, right? We did it! Woo! Go us! We made it happen. I have to... I don't think they have been. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just annoyed because I have to buy a new TV. And I feel like I spend an annoyingly decent chunk of my life researching and buying TVs. I mean... Well, what's really annoying is, I don't know what I was gonna say. Something was annoying, I guess. Oh, so this TV is only 3 years old. I think what's annoying is that I'm buying a new TV when my TV is 3 years old. Yeah, now... I did buy this TV from Target, which is not to say that I think Target should get a pass for selling crap, but, we are approaching you get what you pay for territory to a certain extent. Well, I was so annoyed because I was trying to look up how much it cost because I was trying to decide how mad to be. But like my statement that it would have been on, I couldn't access via because it was 3 years ago and it only had 24 months online. And I'm sure it's one of those things where like I could probably write to some address and request some printout and get charged like $3 a page for it or whatever. And I'm not that mad. So, but I was annoyed that I couldn't even get like a ballpark of how mad I should be. But it was not that expensive. I mean, also, I researched it not at all. We were in a Target. Our TV was too small for our living room after we moved. Which, yes, I recognize that's a, problem in quotes. So we were in a Target buying some other thing. We had just moved. Our TV was on its way, but we already knew based on the size of the room that it was going to be a problem. And it was mostly just because we had to put our couch so far away from the TV. So, because the room was so broad. And so we're in the Target. There was this TV that looked fine. It was an LG. It was big and it was cheap. So, I bought it and then I took it home. So this is not how I would recommend buying a TV. Like Google it for a few minutes to make sure you're not getting a lemon. Yeah, we're on a field trip. We don't do kid discounts. Well, hopefully it's even, since we're letting this kid choose for us. So, yeah, so that's okay. It's fine. I'll just buy another TV. Yeah, I mean, I'm doing my best. I am buying a TV for less than 50% of its MSRP, so I don't know how good of a job I'm doing at keeping the economy alive, but I suppose better than it sitting in a warehouse. So Yay! This feels very legal. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that way you know if you lose, you were supposed to lose for the story, and you don't have to redo it. So yeah, so I ordered a TV last night. Yeah, I mean, I did some Googling, and it's kind of like that particular TV model is fine. Like, no one says it's a bad TV. But there are people who are like, you don't need to spend the money on that TV because you can get a TCL that's almost as good for $1,000 less. Except that the TCL costs the exact same amount as this TV because of the sale. So that kind of was like a wash. Like, I could go hunt down a TCL that was smaller and whatever. I was like, I don't care. I'm just going to buy this. Yeah. The main thing is that it has 120 hertz refresh rate, which, yeah, no one trusts that. So, I use it as it is technically a computer monitor, so that it's better to have that refresh rate. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think this one has 4 HDMI ports, but it doesn't friggin' matter because I have a HDMI switcher. So, because I have had up to 6 things that needed to be plugged into the TVs, although I retired my PS3 and my Xbox 360, and I got rid of cable. So, kids, man.
年のせいか正面が近いもんで。さあ、続いて参りましょう。入ります。勝負。次はね。はん。入ります。さあ、長半駒揃いました。勝負二六の勝。残念だったな。
You didn't trust him coming back from the bathroom? But it's his age. You're an ageist. Well, I mean, if you had a quantum computer, you couldn't have done anything with this scenario. So. It was. Right. 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 The economy is fine. Nothing to see here. Don't worry about it. Well, there's a few things that I can tell you to give you some perspective. That is the 2019 model of this TV, and the 2020 is out. So there's certainly a possibility of they're just trying to get it out of the warehouse because no one wants to buy the 2019 version of a TV when the 2020 is out. Except moi, because it's less than half price. Like, when the TV is $1,400 and the discount is $2,400, it's kind of hard to care that it's a year old, you know. So, yeah. And yeah, I mean, I would never pay $3,800 for this TV. I would in fact buy a TCL. So I get what the people online are saying when they say there's no reason to buy this TV, just buy a TCL. But there is a reason. Yeah, but there is a reason to buy. Well, and Mr. Dez's game playing TV, his 4K TV that we bought him for Borderlands is a TCL, and it's great. You know, they're not bad TVs. So yeah, I mean, I would have bought a TCL, probably a 75-inch TCL. But 75-inch TCLs don't have, they have a 60 refresh rate, which is not as good for if you primarily use it hooked up to a computer or play video games, which are the only two things you do with it. So, so that's a downside to the TCL. And then the other is that the Samsung's 82 inches. So, and there's a bigger difference by a lot actually between a 65-inch and an 82-inch TV and a 65-inch and a 75-inch TV. It's one of those like weird maths, you know. So I was just like, fuck it, whatever, I'll get it. And because it's at the military exchange warehouse, there's no tax, there's no shipping. So it's literally a $1,400 TV. Whereas if I were to get a TCL from Best Buy, I'd be looking at least $100 in tax on that. In Florida. Yeah. Yeah, because we have no state income tax, and the trade-off for not having an income tax is that you do tend to have higher sales taxes in those areas. Now, it's not as high where I am in Tampa as it is in Miami, where I used to live, so, you know, the state, it's not consistent throughout the state, but whatever. So, yeah, I was like, it's fine, I'll just get it. And the reason I got it is because I went on the military website and they're like, we're offering $1,000 or more off on some TVs. And I was like, well, I said, that's a lot off. My guess is that those are like $6,000 TVs they're selling for $5,000 and I still don't give a fuck. But I will go and look just in case. And this was there. And I was like, okay then. I will take it. I will take $2,400 off a $3,800 TV. So, yeah. Real unemployment, something like 20%. I mean, we're basically in a depression. This TV is a sign of the times.
ちょっと待った。もう勘弁してくれ。
さまやらかした壺振りのけじめ。どこでも相場が決まってるもんだ。いや
でもそれは。お客人。
Yeah, I mean, you could probably expect something like a third off on a year-old model that they're trying to get rid of. I mean, that is like that it was part of their $1,000 off sale. It still would have been, you know, not a deal I probably would have taken, but a decent deal, you know. But to see it so low, we were just like, what the fuck? Is this real? Is this accurate? Oh, I always love it when I have to beat up a French grandpa. I don't know that things are going to go well for the dealer. Oh, well. Mm-hmm. Well, that's exciting. So, have you? I was watching a video on longest, like biggest sci-fi, or no, fantasy book series, and I was like, I'm not gonna read any of this shit. But it was just more of like, what are people doing? And Malazan was on there, which I understand he's not even writing all those books anymore. Like, there's a whole team of people on that series at this point. So Malazan is a book series where an author, Steven Erikson specifically, was like, well, when people write fantasy novels, they mostly, when they do their world building, they just build out one or two countries or one or two continents. They never really make a whole world, where the politics are global and like actually on that scale. So he's like, I'm going to do that. And so that's what his book series Malazan is. So, 100 or countries all dealing with their own politics and stuff. Like, it's a world. Like, I'm intrigued by the concept, but not enough to read 5 million words. And you could only really get the scope of it that he wants you to have if you do read the 5 million words, right? Because, otherwise you're not going to get the global scale. You might as well just go read, I don't know, Brandon Sanderson or something. But I think he actually is on to a solar system now. So he's actually, oh my gosh, that's a good, well, the Way of Kings was on this list. So, and yeah, like he has said, and he put up the solar system on his website. He's actually been teaching a class on how to write like him during the whole quarantine thing for free on the YouTube channel. I mean, honestly, and like really drilling down into like, how do you write a character who has a different belief system than you? How I write atheists or whatever, really specific. So, so anyway, but yeah, he put up the like galaxy or solar system or whatever it is on his website. So even series that he says at this point don't seem like they have anything to do with each other, like Mistborn and Way of Kings, eventually will. He said it's all planned out already, how everything ultimately will interconnect. And I mean, he has some books where the people they have not even discovered spacecraft, but then he does have other books where they do have spacecraft. So it's kind of interesting that he's going to bring in medieval worlds are going to culture clash with like advanced technology. Well, yeah. Oh, that's a good question. So, yeah, I guess it could be either. It could be like, how did we get here? Like in the future world where everything's like tango uniform. It's like, this is what happened 1,000 years ago that caused this problem. Or well, I know that one of his series is based on the premise that the Chosen One fucked it up. And so they've had, the bad guy has been ruling for like 1,000 years. And that you start 1,000 years into the reign of, I don't know, Darth Vader or whatever. I think that might be Mistborn. I'm not sure though. Because I get his. Yeah. I mean, I'm at the point where there are some of his series that I will read because my current understanding is, that he's kind of like, as he's declaring, these 3 books form a trilogy and they're done. Does that mean that nothing else? Nothing. They're all connected, but these three are done though. Like, you could read them and you would get a complete arc from beginning to end. And unless you read the thing they're connected to, you would not care about the connection, right? I think that's how they are. So that as he says, okay, this chunk is done, you can trust that and you can read that chunk. That's what I think. Because I know... But, like, he also said there's going to be, I think, 10 books in Way of Kings, and I think all of those books are over 1,000 pages so far. So just right there is going to be millions upon millions of words. So I don't know. I'm thinking about taking a class on executive reading. Because I tested below, like I can't break the sound barrier, which is when you can read faster than yeah, and well, no, I'm not doing that. So there's like, I don't read out loud to myself. I don't have an inner voice, so I don't like, I can read to myself, but it requires a great deal of concentration to actually read the words. And what ends up happening is, the best way to describe it is like, I don't comprehend. Obviously, I comprehend the words because, yeah, I comprehend the sections of text, I guess, because the way that I experience books is more like a visual medium, so it's like a head movie. I don't hear myself like reading to myself, but I can only read for about 425 words per minute if I want to maintain the like 80% or above accuracy that you need, and that's like the top level of like a good reader, I guess, and that's what they call the sound barrier. And then there are people who can read, if you can break past this point, you can read like 1,000 words per minute, you know, and then of course professional speed readers can read like 20,000 words per minute, so, which I don't give a shit about, but right. Well, and I watched a documentary on libraries and reading in the modern era, and one of the people that they interviewed for it is the current world champion speed reader. And he said, you know, once you get to the point where you are a speed reader, you can slow yourself down and savor books. And he said, think about it like this: if you waited, 2 years for Harry Potter to come out, you don't want to read it in 25 minutes, so you kind of set your pace. But like, if your boss gives you some nonfiction book you don't care about to read and like annotate for him, well, then that's another story, right? And you can get through stuff like that really quickly. So I think I'm kind of at the point where I would like to be able to read nonfiction quickly. That's really all it is, because I just don't particularly enjoy nonfiction. So maybe if I could get through it faster, I could learn stuff less painfully. I'm pretty sure, and that's what, allegedly you need to be able to read about 650 to be able to keep up with like the average business executive in terms of reading speed. Like, well, I'm thinking that they have in mind a specific type of business executive. Like, I don't think they have like your average CEO of whatever, but I think the people who have to read the entire 5 newspapers every morning, and they've read every, important nonfiction book as it comes out. The kind of people who would have a Barron's subscription. Like, Tyler Cohen type people, or people like that he would. Yes. Well, and I think, you know, so are the people he talks to. Like when he talks to Peter Thiel, and the two of them are discussing comments each other have made, right? It's not like Tyler Cohen's read every single thing Peter Thiel has ever said and vice versa. Somebody prepped them for that, you know. But yeah, obviously he does read a ton, though. He has to. There's no way. Well, Barron's, they charge for their summaries something like $800 a month or some shit. Like, it's an insane amount of money, you know. So you'd have to be a pretty high level person to even think it was worth it, right? Like, just what kind of a CEO would you have to be to want to spend $8,000 a year on executive summaries? Or maybe it's $800 a year. Even so, you know. Yeah, I mean, it's not something that like someone making $45,000 a year is necessarily going to want to invest there. I'm just going to Google the Baron subscription. Yeah, see, now you can get just the magazine for $52 a week, but that's not what the real value is. It's in their book summaries, where they summarize every important book that comes out for you, so you can read it on your yacht or whatever. And I can't even find that. I'm probably too poor. Oh, yeah. 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 Yeah, I mean, I've heard that service advertised on podcasts. I know exactly what one you're talking about. I've seen it on scroll by on like Facebook and whatever as well. And I'm trying to think. What it's called? It's like, isn't it something like Flip or Digital Dot or something? Well, Flip is that stupid thing on your phone. All right, popular book summaries. I'll Google it. Book summary services. Let's see. We've got Optimize Me. Oh, maybe is it 4-minute books? Best book summary websites and apps. Oh, Blinkist is the one I'm thinking of. Yeah. I knew it was cutesy. Blinkist is nonfiction only, $89 a year. There's one that includes summaries of fiction books, and I'm kind of like, why bother? I guess so you could talk at parties, maybe. Right. I guess that's true. But you're not, like, you don't need to know, well, I mean, we could get into, you know, who needs to know what, but for your job, you don't need to know this kind of stuff. You don't have that kind of job. So it would just be like, yeah, do you want to have your finger on the culture? You know, maybe for this, it would be kind of interesting to know. But yeah, Blinkist is the one that I see all the time. I mean, I guess we can go back to like, what's the purpose of having your finger on the culture? Can you accomplish whatever that is in another way? So like, let's say you want to grow in wisdom, for example, you know, and reading fiction, particularly that type of like literary fiction that really gets into the human experience, could help you grow in wisdom. You don't need pop culture for that. Like you could read older shit too, you know.
いらっしゃいませ。
ほほほ。
ありがとうございました。
Right. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to make friends if you don't have anything that has happened in the last 10 years to talk about, I guess. Okay. You don't want to be the weird guy that doesn't watch TV. I mean, I actually did go through an elitist phase like that where I didn't watch television deliberately. And then I only watched like foreign and independent films and read books. Now, to clarify when this was, it was in the early 2000s. So I just want to say the Sopranos effect had not occurred in television yet. So there was, I mean, the Sopranos was on TV while I was, you know, going through this phase. And actually, my phase was ended by a business trip where I was in my hotel room at a conference and they had HBO for, it was Chicago, yeah. And, oh, they had Showtime. They had Showtime, and the second episode of Queer as Folk was on. And I was like, wow, TV's gotten a lot better since the last time I paid attention to it, which was high school. And so I went, and that was what opened my eyes to what is actually the Sopranos effect, which was that TV on premium cable kind of changed into having these ongoing narratives with character development and that sort of thing on a level that hadn't been done too much, if at all. And, you know, my first experience with it was Queer as Folk, but I did actually catch up on The Sopranos, and I saw the final season of Sopranos as it was happening. So
前なんでここにこれから錦が来るんだぞ。
だからよ。
Well, I mean, the main thing that people know about The Sopranos through cultural osmosis is that it's about a mob boss who has a nervous breakdown and has to go to therapy. Hi, Ypod. And I mean, that all happens in like the first 5 minutes of the first episode. And so then it's, yeah. And it's just simultaneously him being a mob boss and dealing with that, and then dealing with the emotional fallout of being a mob boss, you know. So he's an interesting character for a while. He gets boring in my opinion. But there's great acting, you know, great character development. No Chronos audio? Still? Oh my god, we've been going for like 45 minutes. Oh man, I muted before I could.
その前に答えろ。なぜ水木を殺した？
殺す気はなかった。ユミの妹を殺すつもりな。
親父。
何やってんだお前ら。
All right, well.
すみません。この女、結局
He got a haircut. He wants you to know.
誰が殺せた？
親父。待ってください。
Yumi's
誰が殺せと言ってた？
Yumi's sister got killed and he's mad about it. Yeah. Eventually we'll get him a chair shaped like a racing chair and a green screen so he can be elite. Yeah, I still can't. And also proper lighting, he says. We made a list.
はるかの子供、それで知ったのか。
巡り合わせだよな。あの娘はひまわりにいたんだ。
Oh,
俺たちが育った。
that's bad.
水木はその後アレスを持ち、そして
Say titty sprinkles. Yeah, it's not coming through at all. I'm actually looking at your capture, and you're not even. Oh, I'm not? Okay. Good, because I was like, you're also not streaming for some reason. So. Well, cool.
これは登場会のそうだ。お前一人でどうなるもんでもない。悪い死ね。ペンダントを渡してくれ。
あれははるかにとって唯一残された母親とのつながりだ。お前らの戦争なんて関係ねえ。
変わらねえな。だからユミもお前に惹かれたんだろう。みんなお前の味方をする。昔からな。お前俺のことを。
Oh yeah, there is an echo.
わからねえ。だが結局俺はお前を裏切った。風間親父もな。もう後戻りはできねえ。
まさか風間のおやっさんを撃ったのは。
なあ。さすがにあん時は手が。
Now we just have to wait 45 seconds to see if the echo is fixed.
やめてよ二人とも。
なんでだ。おやっさんに世話になった恩はねえのか。
まだくたばっちゃねえだろう。それに今はシンジも一緒だしな。
It's probably just coming through my microphone from his Connect.
お前、シンジを盗聴して。
10年前のあの日から俺は。
Alright, the echo appears to be fixed.
俺は俺のやり方で登場界のトップに立つ。どうしても水木の娘よこさねえなら、お前でも容赦はしない。
好きにしろ。だがはるかを渡さねえ。お前の道具になんか。
Yeah, I use desktop audio, but I tell it it's my headphones. I'm like, just whatever I hear, I want you to send out.
もう今日限り兄弟じゃねえ。
I mean, that is true, but I also have a preamp and I can turn myself down if you need me to, if that would make it easier. Hmm. And yet your audio is not included, so I'm just I'll just narrate what's happening. So,
なあ、
Yeah.
やってくれ。
all right. Yeah, that is weird. Let's go into the properties. Go into the properties. And then click your microphone. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, that's
I
okay.
Hey, I fixed it.
Hey,
I
Des
fixed
is
it,
so smart.
Wi-Pod.
Des is so smart. And just in time for the fight.
Yeah. No, it's cool. It's cool. He'll be here soon. Well, by the time you hear me say he'll be here soon, he'll be here.
Yeah.
So, or he should be.
I'm here
if
now.
you hear me saying that he's here and he's not here, you can let us know.
Because something's gone horribly wrong
then
again.
I shouldn't fix it.
But yeah, I showed her what my thing was, and she figured it. Well, I figured it out, and we figured it out.
Honestly, I'm just gonna say I figured it out because
Yeah.
they couldn't hear your side of it, so there's no evidence that you figured it out.
None whatsoever.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for letting us know.
Yeah, because otherwise, who knows how long we would have been talking like this. And all these important and interesting things I said all night, nah.
Well, we talked about the gambling and like the economy. What else did we talk about?
Yeah, the
reading
economy.
and
we talked about whether it was pretentious to be someone who didn't watch television. And
doesn't
I had
watch
my thing that was on
TV.
that.
And
So-
how could you catch up with like all the pop culture goings on?
All the problems I have making friends.
Or like, and you found out the general premise of The Sopranos just now. Also, that's the thing that
I'm not
happened.
entirely sure I did. I mean, you told me a plot point, which I was like, you
Right.
can tell me a plot point and I wouldn't know it, and I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, that's a plot point. I didn't know it, but it still doesn't actually help me to understand what The Sopranos is about because it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't really matter. Although I
Especially
did
not
watch a former mob boss breaking down like different mafia depictions in film and television, and he said that The Sopranos there's no way, like, he would have been killed almost immediately if he was talking to a psychiatrist.
But like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody would have known.
Yeah. Someone would have figured it out. Someone would have, and they would have killed him immediately.
We talked about
They're gonna
how
have
I
a
spend my
West
experience points and that I did
Wing reunion. Oh, Kronos might be into a West Wing reunion.
Here's the thing. I started listening to a podcast where some people involved with West Wing were doing like a rewatch. It was terrible. It was actually really bad. So I think it might have been just a moment of its time, product of its time, and just completely not something to do again. So I don't actually know if that's something that we enjoy or not.
I don't know. I mean, I watched it probably 10 years after it aired.
Right.
I
It's
mean,
definitely not of its time in the sense that it was only good in that moment, but a product of its time in that you can't say the same people now, 10 years, 20 years later, can do something anywhere near as good. It's just that their moment is done.
Well, I'm thinking about the cast and like, I mean, Bradley Whitford, he's still working. He works a lot actually. So does Rob Lowe. Yeah, Allison Janney does too. A lot of these people are actually still working, but I mean, just think about how old they would be, though. Yeah. Anyway, I watched The Politician on Netflix, which is like West Wing with high school students.
That sounds awful.
Made by the people who did like Nip Tuck, American Horror Story, American Crime Story. Those guys. And it's friggin' amazing. It's amazing. Because the main character is basically decided that he is going to become president of the United States. That's his life goal. And so he's analyzed the life and career of every modern president. I think, starting with Nixon, I think,
Start with Nixon.
maybe. But he might have gone back to Kennedy. I don't know where he starts. He does mention Nixon. That's how I know Nixon's included. But I don't know how far back he goes. And he basically does, like, a root cause analysis of their careers, right? Like, what do they all have in common? And then he decides he has to do all those things, right? So he has to go to Harvard, he has to be president of his high school student body, etc. And so it's about that. It's about him trying to become this high school president, and it's totally...
So it's Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah, I mean, he actually does have Pete Buttigieg vibes quite a bit. I mean, he's definitely someone who'd be like, yeah, I'll go work at McKinsey, and, you know. He doesn't. He's actually more like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in a lot of ways, because while he's in college, he primaries a Democrat who, you know, is just not paying attention because they've had their seat for 30 years and no one primaries them, you know? Which is...
Buttigieg was much more radical when he was younger, and I think he realized that the path to election was more moderate, and so he tacked more moderate.
Well, it's really funny because, like, his dad is a major communist, right? Like, an actual, like, Marxist, tear it all down kind of guy. And, who was it? Cornel West? Somebody was joking about Pete Buttigieg, was like, if you're a communist, you got to watch your kids. Make sure they turn out right. So... that's kind of mean-spirited for Cornel West, so it might have been somebody else. But it was definitely, like, on Useful Idiots that I heard it. So someone who would talk to Matt Taibbi. Kitty. But yeah, so... But it's just really interesting. It's so funny. I mean, even Mr. Des, like, super enjoyed it, and he doesn't really care about politics nearly as much as I do, so...
Because he's a human being, and you and I are not.
Right. He's not a robot.
So my wife knows that I like Samoa Girl Scout cookies, and so she bought these knockoffs of Samoa for me.
I think there's samosas, like Samoa's the country.
Right, but they're not samosas. No.
Well, that's the Indian snack. Mm-hmm. Oh, it is Samoa's. Okay, carry on. Copycat Girl Scout Samoa's.
Absolutely. So once in a while, I actually know something. And they're amazing.
Caramel Delights or whatever? I don't know.
This is like a knockoff of a knockoff.
Oh.
Coconut caramel fudge cookies.
It's the copy of a copy.
It's the store brand.
I'm not eating sugar right now, so I don't know why I'm asking all these questions about it, because it's not like I'm going to go get them.
Has Tappy got juice for you?
What?
You on Tappy's juice program? Join us in creating excellence?
No.
No refined sugar, no meat?
No. I'm just not eating sugar right now. Or I'm not eating a lot of carbs right now. I literally started today, so it hasn't been that long. Okay. I haven't even started being cranky about it because my body hasn't realized what I've done to it yet.
So next week we should definitely be looking after doing something more engaging.
Next week, we should definitely not
Let's do Overcooked next week.
Play a game that involves baking. But that's okay. I already looked up a like keto chocolate cake recipe so I can make cupcakes. And it uses almond flour, and I was like, this seems like a real missed opportunity. We should be using hazelnut flour, and then it would kind of taste like Nutella. So that's what I'm gonna do. When I finally can't take it anymore, I'll get some Bob's Red Mill hazelnut flour and make chocolate cupcakes. Chocolate in quotes, because it'll be something flavored with cocoa powder.
You've been trying to save your sister, Miss Kimama. Come on, it's not that bad. You did your best. Just because the doctor cheated you is not an indication of your failure. Don't let that get to you. You grieve your sister, fuck the doctor up, but don't blame yourself. That's not what he's
Who would
going to
make
do.
a really bad life coach?
What?
Yeah.
What?
Who would make a really bad life coach?
That's really good advice.
You can't advocate violence as a life coach.
Okay, fine. Sure. Absolutely. But to be fair, the doctor is asking for it.
I don't think we say that anymore. I don't think we use
The
that
doctor
phrase.
was asking for it dressed like a doctor like that.
Okay.
It was better when I didn't have the mic
Right.
on.
Yeah. At least you had, no one had to know what was happening. All right, well, so that you don't get into any further trouble, do you want to talk about frugality?
Oh, yes, that'll not get me in trouble at all, sure. So, we were talking about televisions earlier. You're buying a new television.
Well, I was talking about it. Apparently, you were not talking about it.
I was talking too, even if no one heard me. You heard me. You heard me.
I did hear you. It's true. All right.
So, my father has been using a CRT television for many, many years because that's what they had, and it still worked. So my mother, who is Yankee frugal, says, "Well, the TV still works, so we're not going to buy a new one." It doesn't matter if the entirety of the world is moved to this HD TV programming, and we have to buy all kinds of extenders to try and make the television work on a system that's not designed for it. You're not buying a new television. So
Right.
a few years ago, we bought him a.
And we should point out that your parents are not poor.
No. I mean,
So
I'm not
it's
poor,
not-
and they're better off than me. So.
Right. Yeah. So it's not like
And
this
television,
this
sure,
is a
especially
choice.
the time they were thinking
Yeah.
about it, could have been expensive, but they could have dropped $2,000 on the television, and it would have hurt a little bit. They wouldn't have liked it, but they could have afforded to do it if it was something they wanted to make a priority. And my mom certainly wasn't going to make a priority because she doesn't watch the television ever. And my father, as much as he wanted it, was not going to upset the family relations any, so he's like, fine, I'll just make do, and we'll keep these tack-on things. And that worked for many, many years. Like 3 years ago. So that's how late into the HDTV revolution this is. We bought him, and I use the word bought here in super air quotes because it was literally off a curb. Someone was throwing the television away and said, hey, if anybody wants this, I'll just give it to you. So we picked it up for free. A rear projection television set and put a new bulb in it so it would work again. And
Now, do you mean like the gigantic old school ones or like a DLP?
I honestly can't answer that question. It was pretty big. It was not a 1980s style one. It was a more modern one that had probably been produced in the early 2000s.
Okay.
But it was definitely old by the time I gave it to him.
Right.
So he used that for about 3 years, and it wasn't the greatest television, but it was a flat screen, and it was somewhat high definition. It went from standard CRT definition to having, I think it was 720 interlaced. So, substantial increase in the quality of that television. Someone help me. Okay, are you having a bad time in the bathroom? Crisis on the grabber. Oh boy. Yeah, so, and by hefty, it was also very, very heavy. This thing was quite heavy. So we brought it in, he put it down, it worked for 3 years. Then the bulb... Yes, exactly. Thanks for giving me life, Dad. Here's some trash from the side of the road. It's better than the trash you're using, so it's upgraded trash.
Upgraded trash. Slightly improved trash.
So he was very happy about it. My mom was pissed off. She was so unhappy about it, but she couldn't really do anything about it because it was a Father's Day gift. So that was the way we snuck it in, right?
Right.
So it lasted for about 3 years.
Boy.
And now the bulb's dead again. And my mom's given up. She's like, fine, okay, we gotta replace this one. You can get a new television set. And so they bought one for $300. Not even full $300, like $250. And it's just so much better than even the upgraded piece of trash they had, because it's 4K and it's got this bright, brilliant color scheme, and he's watching YouTube on it. And it's just incredible how much better this television is. So all
Tell
works
him to
out for the
watch
best.
out on YouTube because he doesn't want to get, fall down the alt-right rabbit hole.
It's too late for that, honestly. That's a different story. We'll talk about, I think I've talked to you a little bit about that already, but I have concerns. I work very hard to make sure he doesn't fall too far, but there
hard,
was a
like-
hydroxychloroquine moment earlier in the year, so...
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, the thing that I think is so interesting about YouTube is, even when I tried to make it throw me left, it was really hard. Like, it required so much more work. Whereas, like, when I did that deep dive on the intellectual dark web however many years ago, like, I was flung pretty quickly towards the right, which I thought was interesting. Because it's not like some of the people in the IW are conservative / regressive, obviously, of course. But, like, not all of them, so I don't know whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so you buy your dad a real TV of his very own.
Well, I did. My mother finally acquiesced and bought him the nice television. And that was another Father's Day gift because it was a little bit delayed. But it was, what happened was this was a replacement for his Father's Day gift he actually got from her, which was a knockoff Apple Watch kind of device.
From, like, AliExpress.
Oh, God, I don't even know where this thing came from. I spent some time. Okay, so I'm going to have to put this down for a second.
Oh dear.
I get a call from him.
Story hour.
Asking me to come over and help him out. Hey, can you have a look at my Father's Day gift? We're having some issues with it, and I want you to look us over before I install anything. He's like, okay. So I have a look at the device, and I recognize right away that the problem that he's having with the device is not with software. It is with the fact that it is not getting power. The thing is powered down and there's no slot, it's not contact charging. I'm like, how the heck does this thing charge? Where's the manual? Where's the manual that came with this thing?
Mm-hmm.
There's no manual. Like, when's the last time you bought an electronic product and it didn't have a manual? So, like, okay, well, there's got to be some way to charge this thing. So I look it over. Eventually, I give up, and I pop the wristbands off. And there are two prongs, one on either side of the watch. And one of them looks like it has electrical connectors on it. It's like, oh, okay, so this is where I'm supposed to charge it. Where does this thing fit? Where's the thing it connects to? Where's the charging cable? No charging cable in the box? No, this was the only thing in the box. Okay. So I start Googling around, and I finally find their website, and this is a terrible website. But on the website, I scroll down far enough, and I get to a picture of it charging. And it's like a picture in a picture. There's the picture of it charging next to this other picture, next to this other picture, and this a triangle of pictures. So I have to zoom in and zoom in and zoom in, and it's super low quality, but eventually it's plugged in on one of those prongs. And I look at it again, and the prong was going to fit into a USB port, basically. So you take the prong and you stick it into the other side of a USB port, and that's how it charges. It's the weirdest charging mechanism I have ever seen. So I'm like, okay, let's see if that's actually going to work. I take it over to the wall charging unit, because I'm not plugging this thing into a computer. God knows what it's got on it. Plug it in. It turns on. It's getting charged. Okay, now that we got charged, now we can talk about software. So he shows me the software that they want him to install on his phone so that it can talk to his phone, because the watch will talk to his phone and track his biometric data and exercise patterns, etc. Sure. I look at the app, and the entirety of the app is written, all the permissions and everything is written in Chinese. It's very clearly a Chinese product, and it's like, okay, let's translate this. Let's look at this privacy policy. This privacy policy, oh, that's Chinese. I can't read that. Let's look at the English version. The privacy policy belongs to Tencent.
Tencent. They're everywhere, man.
I was like, that's it. We're done with this thing. You are not installing this on your phone.
Okay, I just want to ask another question, which is, why is your mom in charge of Father's Day presents?
I bought him my own Father's Day present.
So
her Father's Day present.
She's also buying him Father's Day presents.
Correct.
Okay, so it wasn't like she was like, "I'll take care of it, son."
This was completely done without any knowledge on my part. I would have nixed this thing so
you
hard.
You were not involved whatsoever. Okay, well, that's cool. When I was I went to T-Mobile to add my sister's fiance to my cell phone plan, because my goal is to have everyone on planet Earth on my cell phone plan eventually. They were trying to get us to all buy Samsung watches. And I was like, I don't need any more connectivity in my life. This is not something that I need. All right, so she replaced the Huawei watch with, it probably wasn't even that nice.
No, I finally got to the bottom of it. It was advertised to her on a website that she was going to. It might have even been advertised to her on one of the games that she's been playing. She's been playing free-to-play games on her Kindle device and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And so it's like, ooh, I see where this one's coming from. So she bought it, and it was a $50 retail watch, or maybe that was the sale price, but it's one of those sale prices that never existed anything but that sale price. So she paid $50 for it, and I'm like, okay, you need to ask for a refund, because this thing's a piece of junk, and this was a mistake. But I don't think she's going to. I think she's just going to suck up the $50 lost. We'll talk about how I became a Marxist in just a minute. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was awesome. By the way, I'm not a Marxist. Even that text I sent you was clearly in jest, but this was
Yes.
very entertaining. So there's $50 down the drain, and that was a huge waste. So to make it up to him, she bought him a $300 television, which everyone is happy with now. That was a much better choice.
Yeah.
So it was a $350 television that she paid. It was a $300 television that she paid $350. There are worse mistakes that have been made. My biggest problem with the whole thing is not that my mom made a mistake, or even that this is a pattern that she engages in, because it is, but that's not a huge problem. The problem is that some stupid company got $50 off her and did not deserve a penny.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem with a lot of advertising that you see. Even on Facebook, you can get advertising for websites that look pretty normal, like at first glance, but are actually just Chinese scammers.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I can tell the difference right away because I've got experience.
Yeah.
But my mom is pulled in, and I can see.
well,
how
some of them are better than others. Like I saw one that was selling hoodies that I was like, actually, that's a really cute hoodie. Let me click on this, and then I was like, wait a minute, this website. Let me just Google. And then I was like, yeah, no, okay.
Get out here.
I'm out. Hopefully I haven't already picked up a Trojan horse. But it was definitely like they're getting better for sure. I mean, right now I have 2 Chinese companies on my case to test their stupid markers. And
What about
I'm
chalk?
like, oh, the chalk? Well, that's South Korean, but
Yes, now it's South Korean.
now it's South Korean. But yeah, like this marker, this is so fucking. I did a test of these markers by a company called Ohuhu, which are a ripoff of Copic markers. If you know what a Copic marker is, then you know what a Copic marker is. If you don't, they're a Japanese marker. They're widely considered to be the best marker in the world. They're used by professional cartoonists, designers, etc.
They're really nice.
They're mostly famous for having undertaken this incredibly complex dyeing of plastic process where the cap color is actually the same exact color as the marker itself, which is they're probably the only marker company where that's the case, where you don't have to swatch them. Like you can just grab one and it's that color, you know? And they're like $8 a marker. Okay. Now they're refillable and the refills are reasonable. So, you know, if you are a professional cartoonist, designer, whatever, then, you know, they're probably worth investing in. But this company from China called Ohuhu made these markers that are very similar. Like, wow, you know. And I did a side-by-side test and they performed pretty well. You know, I mean, they didn't perform so well that I was like, you know, these are amazing markers. If you're using Copic, switch to them. But it was more like, look, if you don't know if this kind of alcohol marker is for you before you spend $300 buying a box of Copics, get these.
Test them out.
And test them out and see how you can do and if it works for your art or it doesn't. And then this is probably the most we've ever talked about my business in terms of specifics, but you know, if it works for your art, then go ahead. You know, they bleed a little bit more than the Copics. I don't love how they blend like as much as the Copics, but like you can find out from using them whether or not you would like Copics before you spend money on Copics. And now, because that video did well, I have all these Chinese marker companies after me to like basically say the same thing about their shitty markers. And I'm like, no. Your markers are shitty. Like, you know, just like I've never even heard of you. So that's how you know. Ugh, so annoying. And they have this tactic that's so frustrating, which is where, and they're all doing it too. So it's like, this must work, where you get what seems like it should be the second email you would receive from them, right? Where they're like, acting like they already had half a conversation with you, and they make the
assumption of familiarity, and therefore
right. And you said that you would like be happy to receive the markers, and so now they're writing back to you to get your address and to talk about compensation or whatever.
It just ends up in your mailbox someday.
And it just ended up in your mailbox somehow. That Xpovos
that's an excellent point. Xpod,
buying Chinese knockups of stuff that can't record you, run software, etc. Yeah, if you're not putting it on your body and it doesn't have a microphone, you know, and you're not putting it on your computer, like if it's a marker, it's probably okay, especially if it's going to be used by an adult and not a child. Like, you know, there is possibility for pigments to be highly toxic. Extreme toxicity can occur in things like markers, so you know, you do still have to be careful in that. I wouldn't give a Chinese marker, especially you know, I'm not talking about like a Crayola that's manufactured in China. I'm talking about like a Chinese knockoff marker that's not been through any kind of testing or anything. And because even some of the products they manufacture for legit companies have been poisonous.
Yeah. I mean, it's a number of years now, but you have to remember the huge scandal of the baby food situation. It was terrible. Now, that baby food never
My favorite was that kid's toy that had GHB in it.
Yeah, that was bad too.
Aquadots? Yeah. And, so anyway... yeah, so that's what I'm dealing with right now. I'm getting all these emails from, and the other thing I'm getting is like emails from this guy who wants to do a product launch with me. And he keeps talking about all these product launches he did with these other people. And I did go and watch the videos because he didn't sound like a scammer. He definitely sounded like a person who was reaching out to make some money and thought that we could both make some money, you know?
Yeah, and that's a legit thing that can happen.
Yeah, and I do actually have like a line of merch I want to put out, but I just don't feel like doing it. So, you know, that's why I went and looked at his launches, because I was like, well, maybe I could just pay this guy to do it for me, and he'll just take a huge percentage, but then I don't have to do anything, you know? So that's another thing I've been dealing with. And he was very persistent. He emailed me a number of times. So I must have gotten on some kind of list. I don't know. It's always interesting how things come. That and, like, I'm getting more Hermes ads on Facebook again. So, like, Facebook definitely
Stop being so rich. You're buying a television. You were buying a $3,000 television for only $1,000. Come on. What are you going to spend an extra $2,000 on, Des?
Because, like, Hermes is like, there's rich and then there's, like, rich. Like, if you're buying Hermes, you're not just, you're, like, crazy rich, you know? Like, not even normal rich people can get Hermes all the time. So, when you see it on Facebook, I'm like, why is Hermes even buying Facebook ads? First of all, question number one, why is Hermes buying Facebook ads?
I think the honest answer to that is that Facebook has become much older and much more conservative than it used to be in very rapid fashion. And so the old money is suddenly on Facebook, perhaps. So maybe there's a reason that could be the case. But I still think it's a very odd choice. But theoretically, the very narrow targeting that Facebook allows you to do is also very attractive to them. But I don't think
that's true. I mean, you can really pick a real, like, I don't advertise to anyone who makes less than $100,000 on Facebook.
It's not worth it.
I mean, it's, you know, so, like,
not for the kind of products you're selling, certainly.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah. My dealings with China are really interesting because, of course, I'm banned in China. You can't, my videos are illegal there. But I do have a Chinese company that filters my videos that makes them Chinese, and we, you know, so I'm sure I'm probably like a criminal now in China.
There's like so many layers of this that I need to talk to you about off air because I haven't heard this story.
So, okay. So there's no YouTube in China, right? And then also I have some other issues where, like, I have some violations of Chinese law. I mean, number one would be that I have in the past criticized the Chinese Communist Party. But the other is, like, I've shown skulls on my channel. You can't, there's, like, they have a lot of rules about, like, what you can do, you know, like whether or not you can, whatever. So, like, I violate a number of their...
He's a well-bred boy because he's wearing a doctor's coat? What is going on with this game?
Well, I thought you said doctors deserve to die.
That's not what I said.
I thought you were all doctors.
Not all doctors. Definitely not all kid doctors.
Doctors should be killed. That's
Dr.
what you
Tran!
said. You said all doctors should be murdered, I think. I'm pretty sure that's a direct quote.
How do you not know that? How's it even possible? See, this is the kind of conversation I have at parties. Not that I go to parties, so I don't actually have that kind of a conversation. But if I went to parties, this is the kind of conversation I'd have. How do you not even know about that? Even toddlers know about that. Come on.
Nani?
Look, I said if we could get the viewership up, I'd go back to the G-string nurses or G-cup nurses.
This kid is teaching you how to Pokemon, I guess.
For this girl in a swimsuit, he doesn't look old enough for it to be. This feels really, really wrong. Yeah, that's the right question. Is this the card you're looking for? Probably not.
Well, you've already shown him the pornography.
But it's not porn. It's.
You just showed this tiny doctor porn. Tiny doctor porn is not a series of words I thought I would be saying. So, try not to drop your cards anymore.
Try not to drop a lot of things.
Children are so much more mature these days, yeah. Oh my god, now you're in this loop again.
You should go to Club Sega.
Oh, okay. Thanks for the ad, kid. Anyways, yeah, so this company contacted me a while back, a Chinese video company, and they're like, you know, you can't show your videos because you're American, whatever. but like we could download them and re-upload them, and like there's a process
on our version of YouTube, and
right,
make sure that those culturally offensive things are removed because we're okay with that.
Right.
And
so yeah, it's really interesting, and it's not as much of a deal. It doesn't matter as much now because now people just watch with VPNs in China. If they want to, they don't need services like that to filter shit for them. So I don't know, but yeah, it's just really interesting. They have a lot of creative solutions for getting around the law. Like, for example,
everyone does. Look at America. I mean,
how's this person getting the videos? Like, I don't give them to them. They just skim them off the internet. Like, I don't have to do anything, All I had to do was tell them yes or no. Probably so I wouldn't like sue them and cause what that would get you nowhere anyways.
You'd have no success. Plus, how would you even know?
Yeah, I don't know why the fact that they even bothered asking me made me feel like they were legit because they could have just done it. So, but it was that was one of my more interesting interactions. And the stuff I do is popular in East Asia, and South Asia, just in general. Obviously, China's a black hole for like on any, analytics chart because there's no YouTube in China or whatever. But everywhere around China, I do pretty well. So, I could see why they would want to do it. We've been talking about China a lot. We're probably going to get taken down by Huawei.
We can't get taken down by Huawei. If Huawei tries to take us down, Trump will back us up and we'll blow up. He'll tweet us out and we'll have him... I get so tired of winning.
It's so hard. It's so hard. Oh, I guess we didn't talk about the conventions. They're pretty boring, though, so...
I honestly didn't watch either one of them. I read about them, which is what I normally do anyway. The things I read were not exactly enthralling. Yeah. Elizabeth Warren being asked to do the thing for the First Nations convention, that was hilarious.
Yeah, I was like, wow, we've learned literally nothing.
Well, we have learned that she can't handle this stuff.
There was complaints about it, and they were like surprised, I guess.
And then people were commenting on it as it was going live, and they had to shut down chat because that was all people were talking about.
Yeah.
It's like, really?
Yeah, it's been pretty bad. Kyle Kalinske was on The Hill, and they were kind of talking about it. And
this cuss is entertaining myself. I'm at 5 of 10 now.
Ooh.
Bug Battle Beauties.
Great. Oh, so speaking of rock, paper, scissors, Rochambeau, there was a whole plot line in The Politician revolving around Rochambeau that and whether or not you could.
What the
there was
hell?
A strategy.
This is not for kids. I'm pretty sure this is not for adults.
What does this remind me of? This is like Panzer Maidens. That's a game where this is like the sexy girl version of a hottest old boyfriend. Is this okay? No, this is inappropriate. Oh, okay. That's the Japanese rhino beetle. Interesting. That's not what I would have pictured. Her eye makeup is really cute. I approve. Oh, okay. Wow, we're... Yep. You make good choices. No wonder this counts as entertaining yourself. Also, I can't hear you anymore. I wonder if I broke my
I
headphones.
don't think it's because... I'm pretty sure it's because I haven't said anything.
Okay. Have you been stunned into silence?
It's like scissoring.
That's not what scissoring looks like.
It was
Okay,
really
this
close.
it got closer. It did. Well, you did it. I hope you're proud of yourself.
It means you really like something.
It's tough to say how anything about a bee's knee came to mean this. Insect proverb number 11.
More insane or less insane than the RNC?
Was the beetle fight? Yeah, see, I've only seen recaps, but, like, they seemed really intense. Like, they were going hard in their speeches, some of them. And it was all like, Joe Biden's Fidel Castro, and he's gonna do socialism.
69.
And it's like, you know, he's not gonna do socialism. That's what people are complaining about. That's a complaint on the left.
Well,
so
there's always complaint on. That was an achievement.
I mean, they made some like energy guy from Cuba get up and cry about how Castro ruined his country. And look, okay, I am familiar with this type of conservative. There are a lot of Cubans and Venezuelans living in Miami who are Republicans, or at least vote Republican sometimes. And which I found out very awkwardly one time when I was in like a Lincoln Navigator of like 15 of them and me, and I made a, you know, leftist comment, and they all were like appalled. And I was like, oh, whoa, this is not what I expected. So, whoops. But anyway.
What have I wandered into in this room?
It makes... Oh, she's not my daughter. She just likes to call me daddy. Cool. But, so it makes sense, because if you left Cuba or you left Venezuela, you would probably be anti-socialism. And, you know,
That is the
Castro,
right response, Kiryu. That's the right response.
He kind of, you know, he has had his issues.
Then don't be
make me
engaged
say
in
this
that
stuff
kind of
out
stuff.
loud. Look, why are you kink shaming?
So you're determined
Do we know
because
if-
your daughter begged you.
Do we know if the daughter is 18? Like, I mean, how...
See, there's...
He's gonna invite MS-13 to pillage the suburbs. That was,
Is
yeah.
either answer about the daughter being 18 better, because if it's under 18, we can pretend it's actually his daughter again. And if it's over 18, then there's no doubt.
He already explicitly said she's not his daughter. She just likes to call him daddy. So at this point, we have to hope that she's over 18.
I suppose that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, he's recanting a story, so...
Nani?
Don't be stupid. Time to get a Bunchan. But let me pick this thing up on the floor first. Take this other card. Oh my god.
Oh, it's a cute ladybug.
That was a ladybug. She had the memories to prove it.
So yeah, I haven't gotten around to watching any of the Republican stuff other than what's been in like
Which one's a
recaps.
Bunchan? I don't think any of these are Bunchans. Do I have to ask them to change the prizes? Is that why I have to ask them to change prizes? So I lost track. Who's inviting MS-13 and
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden's inviting MS-13. Obviously that he's not, but that's gonna be the attack.
Why would you say that? Why would you say obviously he's not? What evidence do you have that he isn't?
That's not how this works.
What?
That's not how this works.
Look, it is how this works. I can internet. Do you think these are real characters we would know if we were Japanese? Or do you think Sega was like too cheap to pay for licensing? And these are all...
I think they're brand new, made to the game. And this is the remaster, so who knows, right?
Yeah.
I just don't know if this is a bunch of... Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
The claw.
That used to have sleeves.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Joe Biden is unlikely to have contacted.
Well done. I should have you do this. You're really good at these claw games.
With a real claw. Hello.
Oh, that was a disaster. We'll just pretend that one didn't happen. Special guest appearance by my wife tonight.
I mean, she couldn't be worse at this than you, so she might as well give it a try. Oh, she left.
Yeah, she's left already. But she is actually very good at claw games in real life. If we ever need a prize out of the claw game, she's the one who's gonna do it. Like, I mean, I nailed that, right? No, doesn't matter.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, I mean, basically, I think that... Ugh, I'm seeing ads because I'm signed in on my...
Is the front a prized area? I can't tell. Like, if it falls forward, does that count? Looks like it doesn't. Squish that hat! Grab him by the beak! Like, I don't think this thing's gonna grab anything at this point. Just gonna, like, push it along and maybe I'll get it eventually. Yeah, it's stuck up against the thing and it's not gonna... I think I have to, like, try and bump it or something. I don't think I can do that. Yeah, this is hard.
Yeah, wow. Who knew you would be stymied by a pigeon wearing a baseball cap?
It's not really a baseball cap.
It's not, but... I don't know what
I
kind
don't
of
even know if
hat
it's
it
the
is.
right pet toy thing, but...
Wouldn't it be really funny if you're supposed to be getting the blue thing in the next cage over? You spent all this time getting a pigeon and she really wanted a little blue unicorn.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way this goes well for me, honestly.
I read a book about baseball, and I've mentioned a lot of times I think that I really enjoy books about baseball, even though I think baseball sucks to watch. And this book sucked. So, yeah. Do not read The Art of Fielding. It's really... no.
Who wrote it?
Chad Harbaugh. And it's like a mashup of Moby Dick and baseball. but it's kind of stupid because the world, like the university they go to, has a Herman Melville statue. So, like, this is one of my problems with it, which is like, look, if there's going to be a Herman Melville statue at the university, then like you can't have characters with the name Starblind on the baseball team, right? Like you can't have all the baseball characters named after Moby Dick characters if Moby Dick exists in your world. So if you want to retell Moby Dick, then Herman Melville can't be in your book like that.
Too redundant.
It's just too weird because you have to believe that in a world where Herman Melville exists and wrote Moby Dick, that a bunch of people named their kids after characters in Moby Dick, and then they all went to this college and got on this baseball team, and then acted the way they acted in the book, which is just not plausible. So, also, I don't think they leaned in hard enough to Moby Dick, so instead it just like seems less like a retelling and more like the author just like was really into Moby Dick and baseball and wanted to write a book where he talked about those two things. Like,
so it's Moby Dick baseball fanfiction.
Yes, it is. It's Moby Dick baseball fanfiction. It's Moby Dick, but they play baseball instead of dying in a shipwreck. Oh, spoiler for Moby Dick. They all die at the end. And another problem I have, and this is out of context, I don't know, it's gonna sound stupid, but in the book, The Art of Fielding, a bunch of the kids from school dig up a body to give it a burial at sea. Sea being Lake Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And they take it out of his coffin and put it in like a trash bag and then throw it in the water. And I'm like, this was a real missed opportunity to have a Moby Dick joke where they didn't take it out of the coffin, and then because the coffin was airtight, it came up to the surface. And then they had to figure out how they were going to deal with that. But it just seems so obvious that's what was going to happen, and then they took the body out of the coffin, which I don't even know how they got in it, whatever. And then they threw it in the water. And I'm like, this is all, I don't know. This book is stupid, basically. And it's incredible. You're having so much trouble with the Club Sega section of the game.
I think that if it goes back to the thing, I'll give it one more try, and I think hopefully I'm trying to pull the right stuff, because I'm not sure that I'm even going for the right prize right now. Oh yeah, so there's new stuff. Great. I don't know. Let's look at my sub-story list. Crane game. The elusive white Bun-chan. Right, so Bun-chan would be like a bunny. And that is not a bunny, it's like a chicken. So I don't think that's the right prize.
I'm gonna Google it.
I'm just gonna leave for now because the only reason I even came in here, the only I came down and I was looking for tissues to complete that other sub story. So I've been on a wild goose chase here.
I think that is Bun-chan. The little bird.
Okay, cool. Well, the little bird is hard to pick up, so I'll get it eventually. Probably off stream. Why are you talking about an explosion?
But you need to get... Oh, I see. I know how to do it. I watched a video.
Oh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, give me a second and I'll go back to it.
Nani?
So now we fight. You know, I may look dumber, but at least I didn't hit the ugly tree every branch on the way down. You're still over. I thought I knocked you out. This time for sure. So yeah, I mean, I think I'm done with politics for a while. It's not going to get any better for a little bit.
No. I haven't been paying much attention to it because... Oh no, a Batman trailer. What?
Yeah, apparently Robert Pattinson is being Batman.
Yeah.
I'm going to start a Not My Batman hashtag now.
Well, it's definitely something worth getting active on social media over.
I mean, that's the only thing that social media is good for is
I
pointless
mean, he
slacktivism.
probably won't be as bad as...
I found the coin lockers, by the way. So that was a thing I was trying to do for a long, long time. Oh man, I don't know which ones I've got or not. A medieval silver coin. A sacrifice stone. A binding.
The top comment on this trailer is, I wonder how many Riddler trophies he's going to have to find.
Golden blackjack. I tell you what, that did look a bit like a dildo. Just regular blackjack. A metal bat. Brass knuckles. Always a standard. A dagger? That sounds dangerous. Bloody binding? Blue? Scotch! Scotch is scotch, scotch. Put 1, 2, 3 gum. Lopsided cigarette. All those keys I've been picking up have been paying off. A clay figurine. Who knows what these things are doing? All one's charm.
So the tagline seems to be, if you're justice, what's the price for your blindness?
That seems
His
weird.
his suit looks like it's easier to move in than previous Batman suits.
Maybe because the advice got through. Like, guys,
Yeah.
I need a chance to take a crap. Come on.
I think, yeah, if you've ever seen Ben Affleck talk about, when he asked for Christian Bale for advice on playing Batman, and he said, number one, be sure they make it so you can turn your head. Number two, make sure they make it so you can go to the bathroom by yourself. And number three, just try to keep the cape out of your face during the fight scenes. And I was like, I'm not sure that was the kind of advice that Ben Affleck was probably looking for, but honestly,
Probably the advice he needed.
it may not be the advice he deserved, but it's the advice he needed.
Did you just shoot me?
I guess the question is, which Joker exists in this universe?
All of them.
One thing I appreciate, because this really irritated me about the Michael Keaton Batman, is when he takes off his mask, he has really smeary guy liner, which Michael Keaton never did. When he would take off his mask, there would be no black, like, because they would clean his face in between takes, you know, and it just was like, but that's not what
That's
it
not
would
how
look
it works.
like. That's not how it works. So.
All right, so you're gonna guide me on getting Bunchan, and it is the chicken thing.
Yes. It's the chicken thing.
Okay. Let me reset the prizes then, because they're the wrong prizes.
Okay. I got it. I watched the video. We should be good. I did watch Joker. It was good. I think you might like it.
I probably would like it, but I haven't seen it and don't have time. Okay, so which one of these Bunchans am I going for?
Okay, so you want to get the one that's standing above the hole.
Okay, so
And what he did is he put the hook so it was kind of right behind its butt, so that when the claw closed, it would go under its tail and flip the tail up and tip the bird in.
Okay, so push it further back and
lift up the bird's tail.
Not the one in the front row. The one with the
one
that is the side, the pink one, further away from me now.
The one that's would tip right into, tip forward into the hole.
That's clear.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah,
let's line ourselves up.
So you want to get like
good
a little bit behind its fattest part, so that when the claw closes, it closes under the tail.
Oh, I think I was too far forward.
It's in it. Yeah, you need to go.
I thought it was too much. I actually was bumping the one behind it, so this position is a little tough.
Yeah.
So I may
That's
need
okay. You have more tries. Your close it. Do you have control over when it closes?
No.
Okay. It's not going down as far.
Yeah, because it hit the one in the back, the very far back. So I might have to like do the one in the very far back, and then have that one tip forward and hit the other one, or get it out of the way first.
Yeah.
And we'll see it. I mean, I can spend as much money on this thing as I need to.
Yeah,
so.
this is what it. Oh, you just shoved it forward. But yeah, that's the general idea.
But if I shove this one forward, it'll bump the other one forward, and then I can bump them all forward and eventually get it. Alright, I'll give this one a couple tries. That's a very good strategy.
So, Ypod, did you see that Xbox is getting Cinder? So hopefully we can finally blow up the castle. Woo! Oh,
It's fine. It's fine. It actually gives me a better angle to grab onto that one now, so it probably works now. There.
So yeah, we can finish Cinder and blow up the castle.
Just gotta get it to come to Game Pass now.
Oh! Oh, you got it! No! Well, now you can maybe tip the other one in.
Yeah, it should be a little bit easier. That was nuts.
I guess we would have to review the videotape that I have to see how far we got so you could catch up. What's it catching on? That sucks.
It caught on
the shelf.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're actually maybe gonna make progress. So.
Yeah, I don't mind spending a few minutes on this. It's kind of fun.
I wonder if you could pick up the pink one. I think you're too far back. Oh. Nope, maybe not.
Alright, well, I moved it forward. That's fine. Yeah, I saw it showing up on TA, and that's when I sent Des the link. So, kind of amusing.
Well, and for some reason I thought he was telling me it was going to be on Game Pass, and I was like, oh, we can just finish it. I mean, he'd have to play by himself and make all the same choices I did, which would be weird and hard. So I guess.
Yeah, there we go.
Just...
There we go.
Yeah! Yay!
Good work, Des. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No. We're not sending that to the item box.
Yeah, please don't send it to the item box. We need this immediately.
Did I actually get it?
I think you're not done with your turn.
Yeah, okay. Here.
Maybe try and get the pink one.
Let's flip this one over again. Once they're flipped over.
Oh, wow. No.
That
Not
was
even
good.
close. Not even close. I guess we could just...
Bunch hand. There it is. Okay, I got a bunch hand. Creepy guy. Hey, creepy guy.
Hey, perv.
Oh, there's the perv. There's the perv. The white bunch
Yeah.
hand?
We do have the white bunch-in.
This isn't gonna make it worth our while. How much is it?
Oh, look at you making friends with all the child molesters in town.
We are presuming he is not a child molester.
After giving pornography to a small child, you're really doing well this evening.
This corner of the game has been a little awkward. I'll be honest. Alright, Sasaki. 10,000 yen? No, I'm not actually impressed with this. Kiryu is impressed.
No.
I'm not impressed. That's not very much for what we did.
For what that put us through?
He said he put 10,000 in already.
Oh.
Disappointing. Anyway, thank you for the help, Des. That was awesome.
I mean, I feel like we really accomplished something.
We'll probably accomplish more tonight than we do most nights.
We helped a child molester give his
Can we stop?
daughter.
We helped a child, and then molesters are bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh.
That's an okay pair of
Look,
sentences.
you
Why do you have to
can't
continue
get
with that
demonetized.
run-on sentence, Des?
You're not eligible for monetization, so you can't get demonetized. So it's no problem if you talk about child abuse. I mean,
maybe I'm tired of talking about child abuse.
I mean, maybe you should have been helping creepy dudes get presents for their quote-unquote daughters. She's probably 18. You know what? It's fine. She's 18.
Yeah, we did have
sure.
that situation with Date's daughter, who looked very much like she was not 18, trying to sell herself on these streets. So I have real concerns now, all of a sudden, that I didn't have a few minutes ago, because I didn't remember that.
Uh-oh.
Well, I mean, at least she was interested in a young guy, not this older businessman, this middle-aged businessman. So, I don't know.
Not a lot of people are complaining about child abuse in the game, so you're probably in the clear.
People don't usually complain about it, let's be honest. It's not the thing that people talk about for a wide range of reasons. We talk about why people don't talk about it.
Because it sucks
It does
to
suck.
talk about.
It sucks to talk about. Hey! Bob, they have CPs. many CPs do I have? I don't think I have that many. I wish I could tell. Oh, I've got 31. Okay. So, like, I could buy the golden pistol, but I don't think that's a good choice. Enjoy food even when hitch point is full. Why would I want that? It doesn't seem useful. Ibisu socks of... This sounds useful. This also is pretty good. Like, maybe I buy both of these.
Tips for making your day better. Number 1, do not watch the news. Number 2, do not get on the bathroom scale.
I don't know if that makes my day better, but...
Those are pretty solid tips.
Those are solid tips, I'll agree. Apparently I have to buy them in order, I can't just buy 9 and 10. That's annoying.
Ugh, I wish I would not get penny hoarder ads. They're always so dumb. Why am I seeing this ad? Let's find out. So, in order to see this ad, you had to live in the United States and be 40.
Okay. Congratulations.
I mean, yeah. Why would you cast such a wide net? Why?
Still looking for tissues.
Well, I mean, for a while they were giving me custom wedding sari ads.
That's
So,
really
like,
weird.
And I was like, I don't know where you picked up the number 1 that I need this, and 2 that I'm getting married. Like, I'm not getting married.
Maybe
Why
you're
would
going
you?
to someone else's wedding and you need... But
Oh, I
yes,
guess.
that's really weird. This... Tomoe Nage? I don't... This game confuses me. Not the Yakuza, but the mini games within the game are very confusing to me right now. There's supposed to be tissues around here. I need another pack of tissues, please, and I don't want to have to buy them. Just give me tissues. Yeah, there's a sub-story over here or something. Let's go. Tissues? Oh, Club Sega Theater.
No.
I...
Cool.
Today I keep getting this eBay ad with a grid of products to buy, and it's a bunch of headphones and a framed picture of AOC.
How much is the frame picture of AOC?
Is it signed? Is that why it's...
I doubt it's signed. You could probably get a signed picture of AOC from writing a letter to her Congress office.
Sounds like a decent way to make money. Right to the AOC's Congress office, get signed pictures, sell them on eBay. Profit.
I wonder how many people are
People are
on eBay
stupid.
looking for AOC signed pics when the internet exists, but are you looking for headphones, or was it just guessing that maybe you needed headphones? I don't know. I'll let you know if I get it again. Ooh, a cult.
Takuma.
Oh, wow. Jared Leto has a cult? Maybe? 30 Seconds to Mars. Mars Island. What? What is this? What? Oh, wow. He's out here looking like Jesus.
So I can tell you that a haircut makes you feel a whole lot better. Come on, Jared, get a haircut.
Wow. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. The root word cult means to grow. So yes, this is a cult. We're about growth, evolution. The sacredness of what we share is truly only for those who understand. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's a cult.
Most people who start cults don't like put it on their Twitter. Yeah. Yes, this is a cult you wouldn't understand. I'm one of the believers. Oh my gosh. Okay. Is this just like a fancy concert that like rich people had to pay a lot of money to go to? Please tell me.
Speaking of concerts,
yes,
I'm
yes,
thinking about going
that's
to a
what it
concert
is.
next May. Do you think it's going to be no longer so insane to try and go to a concert next May? Like, do I buy the tickets?
$6,500 to
That's a
go
lot
to
of
the
money. That's like 6.5 TVs.
of no. Yeah. No. It's more like 5 TVs. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's for certain values of TV. We would have to define TV. Okay, so yeah, Jared Leto started a cult. Allegedly. But I mean, he said it on his Twitter. Yes, this is a cult. So it's probably
I'm pretty
fine.
sure we don't have to say allegedly at this point.
I'm-
Also,
he
as you
probably-
mentioned, we're not getting monetized, so who cares?
Okay, wow. This is so weird because I was just researching a bunch of books on cults because I wanted to like read some cult stuff. Well, that's probably why this showed up. But you know, now I need Jared Leto. I love Jared Leto. He was an absolute dream, and then I grew up. Damn, he is problematic AF. Yeah, I mean, he's a weird dude.
I mean, to be a high quality actor, you probably either need to be the empty vessel, a la Benedict Cumberbatch, or a weird dude, a la Jared Leto.
Well, I mean, there's the third option, which is the classically trained actor who learns how to
Control all that.
imitate.
Yeah, I think they end up being weird dudes, and they just hide it better because they're good actors, and so they act all the time, and they just are weird dudes underneath.
I don't know. Have I told that Laurence Olivier, Dustin Hoffman story?
I don't know.
Okay,
Not
so
recently.
Laurence Olivier and Dustin Hoffman were in a movie together, and Laurence Olivier is a classically trained actor, as in trained to imitate human emotions and able to do it through lots of practice, not like not using any method acting type of training. And he's in a movie with Dustin Hoffman. Dustin Hoffman is a major method actor, and Dustin Hoffman has to do a scene where his character hasn't slept in a couple days and is also possibly on drugs or something. And so Dustin Hoffman prepared for this by not sleeping for like 36 hours and drinking a few pots of coffee, which he allegedly mentions to Sir Laurence Olivier on set when Sir Laurence Olivier asks him if he's okay. And then he tells him everything he's been doing to prepare for this scene they're about to do. And Olivier supposedly says to him, "My God, son, have you considered acting?" So I do think that there is a type of actor where they just don't do this at all. They just, that's just not part of their bag of tricks. Yeah. And then there's other actors who like use the Chekhov school of acting, which is the head, groin, heart acting. It's not method acting exactly. Like you just kind of figure out, there's like kind of a group of movements that you associate with a groin character, like where you're acting from your groin. There's characters where you act from your heart, and there's a group of movements associated with that, and then you can act from your head, and there's a group of movements associated with that. And so you can do things like, let's say you have a scientist character, you can head act that, which would be expected, or you could do something interesting and subvert the expectations. You could groin act the scientist and think about what that would look like. And if you're wondering what like a groin actor would look like, Eddie Izzard is actually a pretty good example. He's always comes to mind as someone who's like kind of more like a groin actor. And then Benedict Cumberbatch would be a head actor, someone who acts from their head. And Jared Leto seems to me like someone who, if he has to play someone who's insane, he has to make himself insane.
He's almost always there anyway, so.
Yeah. Who else is amazing? I mean, of course, Daniel Day-Lewis is a huge method actor, infamously difficult and annoying to work with. So, yeah, I don't know. I think you can probably be an actor without becoming weird, but it would be very difficult. It's probably like, on a line of like rich people getting to heaven.
All right. We gotta do this. It's gonna be. We're doing this.
All right.
It's happening.
Nobody talks about how much anxiety it is to make big purchases when you grow up poor. I get so anxious every time I invest in myself for basic things like computers, cars, and apartments.
Oh, the healing touch is not in stock!
No!
I know that series like the back of my hand, and I've never heard of that one. Wow. Sorry, guys. No G-Cup nurses.
This is bullshit. You're just gonna have to play Honey Pop to make us feel better.
I can do that.
Yeah, so there's this thing where when you grow up poor, and it's interesting because when you grow up poor, one way you become really paranoid about money and you don't want to spend it, and there's like that's how you kind of have your trauma. And then there's another way where you grow up poor where you just like buy way too much shit. Because you finally kind of...
You gotta spend it, so it's, that's all you got.
Yeah. But yeah, when we were talking about the Yankee frugality thing, and, one of the things that I try to not do, and I'm not always perfect at this, but is to not be penny wise and pound foolish, and to spend money when I should spend money, and to not make things harder on myself by not spending money. So like I would not buy an Apple Watch from AliExpress, just as like an example of things that I would not do, because I know that wouldn't be worth it in the end, the money that I would save for the hassle, the payoff, but like there are a lot of people who and I'd rather buy one nice pair of shoes than 5 pairs of crappy shoes. Like that's kind of how I am. But I do hate spending money. And there's some things that I'll do myself where it would make more sense for me to pay someone to do the labor. But I'm like, no, I'll just sit here and watch Netflix and do it. Even if it's not a good use of my time, Yeah. So I have problems with it still. Although
my mother, what you were talking about with the bad with money reminded me immediately of my grandparents, my mother's parents. because they lived through the Depression. And so
Right.
they became intensely frugal because of that. And she picked it up, and it's, reinforced by the culture she grew up in, this Yankee frugality, as I mentioned, because she's a Northerner.
Right.
And she's lived with that her entire life, and so we're good with that. I'm pretty frugal too as a result. But she definitely takes it too far, where it's actually harmful, because it's not about being frugal anymore. It's about being penny pinching.
Right.
Being frugal is making do and not getting a thing you don't actually need.
Right.
And being penny pinching is buying a knockoff Apple Watch for $50 because you don't want to spend $750 on an Apple Watch.
Right.
You either don't buy the watch or you buy the one that actually works.
Yeah, I mean, that's for me. Where I am is I would rather just not have an Apple Watch and just figure it out another way. Like if it's between me not being able to have an Apple Watch and being able to have an Apple Watch, like I have a tool that I routinely recommend on my channel that costs $225. Many other versions of this tool can be had for in the 50s, let's say. And I always tell people, you can buy one $50 version of this tool every year for 10 years and spend $500, or you can buy this one for $225 and never buy another one for 10 years. So you will save money if you buy the one that I'm telling you to buy. It's got a self-sharpening blade on it, so you don't have to buy replacement blades. Like, you will never spend money again in this tool category if you buy this one. And so, like, a company came out with one that cost like around $150. I bought it and reviewed it and then immediately returned it because it was crap. And so when people ask me about that one, I say, wait until you have $225. If you have $150, wait till you have $225 and buy the one I recommend. Because it's worth it in the long run, and that's kind of where I want to be. I want to be buying the stuff that's worth it in the long run. So it annoys me when I buy a TV that dies after 3 years, but I also blame myself for that because that was somewhat of an impulse buy, Like, I'm sure if I looked at reviews of that TV, it probably wasn't, like, top known for its reliability or something like that. So you're saying I don't need
the AOC portrait.
Here's
Here's the thing. You may or may not need an AOC portrait. We're saying buy the high quality one if you need it. So if you have a choice between buying an AOC portrait or buying the signed AOC portrait, you should buy the signed one.
Well, try to get one from AOC so that
Definitely, actually, don't pay the eBay scammers like what I was talking about. Don't be a fool to my scam. If I can scam you, then something has gone horribly wrong because I'm a really bad scammer.
So yeah, you might need an AOC portrait. Like, no one's saying that you don't need that, but you want to make sure you get one that's going to last,
Get the AOC portrait that you want, not the one that is going to fulfill the need on a temporary basis.
Well, and don't haul roadside trash TVs around. I'll get the $225 one. Exactly. That's exactly the answer. Well, like, when I was looking up the problem that my TV was having and whether or not it was fixable, and I was reading about it and I'm like, no, it's not fixable. I'm not gonna, no, stop. But because my TV has purple and blue splotches on it. And so I just Googled, TV, purple, blue splotches, and it's like one of two things is happening. Either the yellow phosphorus that's in LED bulbs to cut down on how blue they are and make them whiter. Either that has evaporated or decomposed or something, and so they're just too blue. If that's the case, you can open up the TV and replace those bulbs and your TV will go back to normal. But it could be that the bulbs aren't firing in the right sequence, and so you're getting patches that are too blue. And if that's the thing, you have to replace the panel the bulbs are all stuck in. And I was like, who would do that? Like, who would do that ever? Like, that's got to cost as much as the TV, practically. Right? Like, that panel. I mean, that does in fact sound like the thing that makes the TV work. I like how when things don't go your way, you just beat people up.
Well, he said he'd beat me up, and I waited for him to make the first move. I mean, that is also what the game's about, so...
Yes.
But to be fair, I actually let him make the first move.
See, that guy's selling counterfeit AOC posters out of the back of his truck.
Sakura Storm.
I'm gonna go on eBay and look at I'm gonna look at AOC posters. I'm just gonna type AOC, see what comes up. Oh, that is a monitor brand. So that's gonna be a problem. I'm gonna have to put portrait. Oh, sweet! You can. Wow, you can get. I'm sorry. So there's a bunch of people selling her official house portrait, which is the one that you could totally get for free by writing her office. Anywhere from $3 to $15. But some people have made some unique arts. So
it's a value add, theoretically.
there's a value add, yeah, because it's art at that point.
What if the value add is another picture? You feeling me?
Mm-hmm. It's a United States Congressperson that you're talking about. Oh, excuse me, I had a hiccup just then.
Probably not.
Okay. So yeah, my dad grew up poor. My mom's parents lived through the Great Depression, but they were wealthy after, you know. So she was raised, even though her parents were extremely frugal, and like my grandmother, when I remember when I would visit, she didn't have Tupperware. She just used like cleaned out country crocks for everything. So you had to like open 1 million of them in the fridge to try and figure out what anything was. And she used bread bags as shower caps and shit like that. Like, this is all Great Depression type of stuff. But she never passed this on to my mom somehow.
Yeah, because your mom would totally be the person who would pick that up, based on everything I know.
Yeah, but she just never got it. And like, for example, I'll tell you some stories about my mom. My mom drove her brand new Mustang into a river or into a lake, and her dad just replaced it. So she didn't learn like financial consequences, you know. So that's part of it. And then my dad, he grew up super poor. His parents were poor, from poor immigrant families. And I know at one point they only ate like potatoes, what they could grow in their garden. Like the only thing they bought was potatoes and like salt, you know. And they would sometimes like just eat potato sandwiches, which was like a tomato between potato slices. So like he had it rough growing up. And so he is much cheaper than my mom. And he can sometimes do stupid stuff. And the number one being that I saw that his phone was bulging, was fat, and I'm like, your battery's swelling. They do that before they explode. Like, you literally can die from this phone. And it was swelling so much it was causing the screen to crack, and he just kept gluing the screen back together, and he would clamp it while he was gluing the screen back together, and I'm like, clamping it is putting more pressure on the battery, and it's making this problem worse. Like, you actually do have to get a new phone now. Like, you could literally die. This phone could literally kill you. And when he finally did take it to the Verizon store went to get a new phone, and he showed it to them, and they told him that he was lucky to be alive. Because he wears his phone on his hip, and they were like, that would have burned through, like it would have just destroyed your hip. You probably would not have lived through the explosion of the phone, or you would have been lucky to, So I was like, that would be an example of when trying to save money is not a good idea.
No, that's a poor choice. But I understand where that was coming from, because I've certainly been in places where I've done similar things. I will stretch things further than they need to be because, like, okay, it still works technically. And yes, it'd be better for everything if I just bought a new thing, but, you know, I don't have the money right now, so I'll make it work. Your father is not in that position, but the
that's why
habits
it's dumb,
that being
right?
in that position brought to him means that he keeps doing that even when he doesn't need to.
Well, and my parents, like, are really into this idea of, like, leaving a legacy behind or whatever. And so they don't really like to spend their money. You know, their goal is to, you know, leave a lot to charity and then leave it to their kids and their grandkids or whatever. That sort of thing.
Oh.
And
I don't know if that's better or worse than my parents' philosophy. My father read a book called Die Broke, and that's his plan. So the goal is to spend all of his money while he's still alive, because, you know, he earned the money, and keeping it for the future is all well and good, but keeping it for when he's dead doesn't mean anything for him. And if, you know, if he wants to give it to me as a legacy for me, then he should do it when he's alive. You know, hand the money over to me while he still can, so that he sees how I spend it and gets to see my enjoyment from whatever he gives me. And if he wants to give it to charity, then what's holding him back from giving it to charity now? The only thing that really works against that is that maybe he can invest it better than the charity could. You know, if he can grow the money better, then that would still be worthwhile for him holding on to it. But otherwise, you know, I think that makes a lot of sense, particularly for him, because he's not a particularly strong investor. I have to give my parents investing advice all the time, and I'm not the world's best investor. So if they're getting advice from me and it's actually helpful for them, then they're probably better off going down their path that they've chosen.
I mean...
Or they will die broke anyway.
Why aren't they just putting it in Vanguard and moving on with their lives?
Because Vanguard isn't really an option. If it was, I totally would have recommended that to them anyway. Yeah, that's a good choice.
Okay.
I'm actually telling
like,
my parents to... Well, I was. Now, no longer, because they're both retired now. But for a long time, I was like, guys, stop putting so much in bonds. You don't need to have this much in bonds. Stop it. Why is 75% of your money in bonds? Stop. Oh, God.
Oh, my God. My parents have so much money in bonds. It's so annoying. Like, my parents have money in everything. So, like, it's not like... If my parents have a lot of money in bonds and they have a lot of money in the stock market. So, it's not like they put all their money into bonds. You know, but they have so much money in treasury bonds. I'm like, what is the point of this? These are not even worth anything anymore. Like... That's a depression thing, maybe.
Yeah, and bonds are safer, but the thing is, you don't need safe, you need growth, because if you don't have growth, you're not beating out inflation. We've just been really lucky that we haven't had any inflation for a long time now.
Yeah. Well, and, you know... Well, and if you're concerned about the stock market, you can put your money in, like, mutual funds that have historically outperformed the market. I mean, that's an easy way to beat the market, is to put your money in mutual funds that beat the market consistently, like Blackstone. I mean, if you want to be evil, but I mean, the whole stock market's evil, so whatever. Just go for it. Just put your money in Blackstone.
Yeah, I mean, we got back to our discussion, you know, you go back to the 18-year-old self, and what do you say?
Yeah.
Buy Amazon.
Yeah, buy Amazon. And then maybe you can do some good with that money. Like, my parents give a ton of money to charity while they are alive. Like their church, if their church is having a problem, they call my parents. You know, all churches have, like, a handful of people that they know they can call if they're really, like, in a tight spot over something. And my parents are that, you know.
It's good the community has people like this, too. I mean, this is a good thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not like the church is going to get money from the government. You know what I mean? So,
well,
like...
a lot of churches did get PPPs.
They did. I'm not sure how I feel about that, to be honest. Like, on the one hand, their employees are still Americans, but on the other hand...
small business, and the money was
yeah,
it's definitely complicated. But it was a huge number.
I'm going to lean on the side of I don't care, because I care more about the individuals who needed that paycheck than I really do about whether or not
I think there's a lot of things to be said that the way that the money was handled was wrong to start with, and so it doesn't matter at that point. But I don't think that it's a winning argument either way.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean they give a bunch of money to charity, and they go on trips, which is good. They're getting more lavish with their trips, which is also good. You know, I've had a number of conversations with them where, because they are basically the opposite of your parents, it's like, look, we appreciate that you want to leave us a bunch of money, but like, it's not necessary for your deaths to be the greatest financial windfall of our lives. Like, that's just not necessary. Like, we appreciate that you've worked hard, you know, doing whatever you do, but like, go on a trip and fly first class for the love of God, you know. Please
Be comfortable.
Yeah, be comfortable. Don't fly on an overnight nonstop, you know, European flight in coach when you don't have to, because you could easily afford to not do that, you know. And so they finally have started, you know, being better about spending their money, but I just have a feel. I mean, also they make money at a rate where they can't spend it unless they were to upgrade their lifestyle, and they don't really feel like doing that.
That's a nice place
So,
to be. I wish
you
I was
know,
there. Maybe
well,
when we
all
get
you
to
have to
be
do is
successful.
go back in time and join the deep state instead of doing
here's
what
the
you're
thing.
doing,
I
saving
tried.
kids from child abuse.
I tried.
You did try to join the deep state. It's true. It's too, you know, what if I could go back in time, what I probably should have done is, instead of setting you up to take over my job, I should have just had you talk to my dad, and he could have told you how to get in with the deep state. You probably have a lot more money now.
Yeah, but maybe I wouldn't be as happy.
You almost certainly would not be, because first of all, you would work for the deep state. So,
Do you have any
that's
tissues?
bad.
I want tissues. Tissues, please? No. Man, I'm getting attacked. A fair amount tonight. I mean, this bloody eye. Alright, Kamada.
Yeah, it's tough. It's probably tough for parents to know exactly what to do with their kids. And
your parents have a different situation. I'm an only child. You're not.
Right.
So you have
Right.
siblings to be concerned about, and your siblings are not as practical as you are, shall we say. I think that's delicate enough.
that's true. That's true. That's probably why they're not in charge of the dispersal of funds from the trust. So,
Whereas, you know, my parents only have me, so they're like, yeah, okay, we can do whatever the hell we want, and it's actually a little bit easier in some ways, because, yeah, my parents aren't that well off as yours, but they don't have to try and split it up across the three.
well, they don't have to, I mean, I presume they don't have to build a trust, which is a
No, yeah, they haven't even tried.
time-consuming and expensive and annoying process that I have been involved in for years, and I can tell you is not that pleasant. I had to
We
go...
had to do trust for my grandfather, so I've been there, but I don't have trust with my parents. I'm going to be a sole inheritor, just straight on down the line.
Yeah, we the lawyer who prepared their trust, he has like this seminar that trustees have to go to, and he has one for trust makers, he has one for trustees, and then he has one that's mixed for both. And I went to the trustees one, and he was like talking about why it's really important that you need trusts is because, like, when someone with money dies, all their relatives turn into werewolves, basically. I mean, he literally said they turn into werewolves. Like, he said that the closest analogy to what happens to people after a loved one with money dies is someone getting bitten by a werewolf and turning into a werewolf. So he has obviously seen some shit. So.
I saw a thing on the ground. I was trying to pick up the thing. And then I got interrupted by a side story. And now I'm getting attacked. So we ought to sell signed pictures as well. That's where we can get money. You know, if AOC can sell signed pictures, then so can we.
Maybe we should just sell signed pictures of AOP.
I mean, our profit margin.
But like signed by you, you know.
That's the value add.
Yeah. pachinko store sign. Not as good of a weapon as sex shop store
Still
sign,
pretty
but
good, but definitely not as good.
yeah. Okay, let me look at the topics and we'll just run through quickly because there were some funny ones. Oh, okay. So first of all, cheapskate readers, which is something that CNET does, can get the Marseille M Classic for $84.15 with promo code MCCNet15. Okay, so that's Mike, Charlie, November, Echo, Tango 15. That's 15% off the regular price with a tie. Now, the Marseille M Classic from MCCNet 15 with code MCCNet 15. What was amazing about this article talking about this deal is that the person from CNET didn't even like Google the most basic information about the device because they didn't seem to know what the purpose of it was, and they didn't include a review of it. So it was basically, this device exists, you might want it, and here's how you get it with our code. Like, they couldn't even be bothered to like copy pasta some PR or spam, you know. If you don't know what that thing is, it's basically an up converter for older consoles so that they work better on modern TVs, and it works intermittently, is what I was able to determine.
Look at his eyes.
Did he do a bunch of LSD just now?
He's being sexually assaulted for money.
Did I send you the thing about Arnie replacing Bert's anxiety medicine with ecstasy?
No.
Oh.
Do send me that. That sounds amazing. It also sounds like a novel I wrote, so...
Write some slash fic?
No, this was... basically, I was writing a horror fic where there was a new drug that was being given to ease birthing pains, so a birth anxiety kind of drug. And they didn't do enough testing, so it was like phthalimide all over again. And so the babies with this, born out of this, had not just defects, but also supernatural powers. So that was where it went speculative.
Ah. I eventually found out that thalidomide's original purpose was as a leprosy drug.
I think that I heard that. Yeah.
I think that's what it's supposed to do is treat leprosy.
And you know, the most interesting thing about that, to me, with my background, is of course that it does work exactly as intended as that drug for that purpose. You just have to get the right chirality. It's a chiral molecule, and so chiral is like left-handed or right-handed. Most things in nature are right-handed, and our body processes right-handed things in a certain way. So sugar is a chiral thing as well, and you take right-handed sugar, and it tastes sweet, and it's calories, and we burn it, and it's normal. Left-handed sugar also tastes very, very sweet, but it is not processed by our body in the same way, and so it's actually very hard to digest, almost impossible. And as a result, it's sweet, but it doesn't have the calories, and that's where most of our artificial sweeteners come from. So the chirality matters a lot, but the chirality of this particular molecule, right-handed, was perfectly safe and had the effectiveness that it needed for this drug, and left-handed, it was tetragenic.
Yeah. Yeah, I read a burnout case and learned a lot of shit about leprosy from that. What's really funny is like the main character in a burnt out case really hates brother Damien, who's, you know, kind of like famous in Catholicism for running a leper colony in Hawaii and spending so much time with the people there that he got leprosy. And in A Burnt Out Case, which is a book by Graham Greene about an architect who loses his shit and has to go to Africa and help people with leprosy, they're talking about how like you can completely prevent leprosy, like there's no reason for anyone to get it. And so they were like speculating that he had gotten it on purpose. And it was really interesting to see a book written in I don't know, what, 30s probably?
I figured out what's in the bag. I have no desire to look inside now. I was going to look until she said that.
So there's your cheapskate thing. You can get, I don't know, an up converter for your old Nintendo.
Except, of course, don't, because it's a piece of junk.
Except it don't, because it only works intermittently. So...
And I'm not really a console gamer, so I don't know if it did any good.
Let's talk about YouTube mid-roll ad policy. Fuck them. They make me so mad.
We're going full Twitch soon, right? Because that's where we are.
I mean, I don't know what we're gonna do. We're gonna have to just make our own website and get our own RTMP server, and then it's gonna be like I've gone back in time 5 years. When I have my
experience with that, so you know what's up.
At least I'll know how to do it, and I'll know who to call.
Ghostbusters?
No, it's so funny. So when I was looking to find a server to host my show when I left Ustream, which Ustream I think still technically exists,
but it was all bad. I mean, it's all bad now. It didn't used to be.
Yeah, it used to be like they had a lot of enterprise clients and they were making good money and they were broadcasting some important games and things like that. And what happened is that they got so big that they didn't give a shit about the people who made them famous in the first place. And so I went and I got my own RTMP server and I hosted my own show on my website, which is very expensive. But anyway, so when I was calling companies and telling them what I needed and asking, to talk to someone about bandwidth and cost and everything, there were companies that lost out on a lot of money because they just assumed that because I've been live streaming on Ustream that I had like no followers and no money. And the server I ended up going with, which was in Canada,
because Canada people are the best.
They were instantly like, yeah, here's what it would cost. They didn't even, they were just, I just emailed them and was like, what would this cost? And they were like, this is what it would cost. And since they weren't assholes, I went with them, and their prices were very competitive, so.
But fair, you weren't getting.
They were, yeah.
Not something insane like they clearly don't understand what your business is, so therefore they're giving you this crazy price that can never last, and then everyone's gonna be.
Right. So, yeah. Okay. So YouTube decided, just like unilaterally, that they were gonna put mid-roll ads on every monetized video longer than 8 minutes. When they rolled out their new mid-roll ad policy, which is that you could put mid-roll ads on any video longer than 8 minutes. It used to be 15, now it's 8. So if you suddenly saw like a friggin' explosion of mid-roll ads on YouTube,
have actually seen a lot more. Thank you, YouTube.
Yep, that's where it comes from. And so, yeah, okay. I'm gonna admit that YouTube did send me an email about mid-roll ads that I ignored because I don't give a shit about mid-roll ads because I don't run them on my channel. So I don't know if I would have known. I probably would have known sooner that they were doing this, but I don't think I could have done anything about it. Because I looked at the email, and the email was just like, "Congrats! Now you can have
this thing that you wanted,
ads.
Right? You definitely want this.
Yeah.
It's more money. Yay!" Except it's not really.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like if after these changes, you'll still be able to turn mid-rolls off or adjust the placement in each video manually.
What is that? Are you going Canada, Canada, Canada? Because it looks like you're saying poop a lot.
I think he is celebrating Canada. Do I want to go to Canada? No. Google, you're so weird. Okay. So the way I found out about it, because I ignored the email that YouTube sent me, because I don't read every creator newsletter that comes out.
Well, it's such a waste of time.
Why would I? So yes, it's normally a huge waste of time, which is probably why they sent this one out.
Give me the Baron's summary, please.
Yes. Hi there, you're receiving this email because we're making changes to mid-roll ads that will impact your channel.
That's true.
These changes will make more videos eligible for mid-roll ads to increase your monetization potential.
Technically, kind of true.
Also true. Turning on auto mid-roll ads saves creators extra work while helping increase monetization potential for new and existing content. We'll use machine learning to automatically find the most natural breaks in your video to increase monetization potential while balancing the user experience. Well, they clearly failed at that. Because the way I found out about this was someone going, why are there so many ads? Oh, on Windows, nation flag emojis are just letters. Aww. That sucks. How dare they take your patriotism away? So, I had to go and turn mid-roll ads off on videos going back to 2009. And I didn't have to go all the way back to 2009 because in the beginning, when I started YouTube, videos couldn't be more than 10 minutes. So there was a point where I was able to stop because none of the videos were long enough anymore to have mid-roll ads. But yeah, people were on my channel like, how come there's so many ads? How come there's so many ads? And I was actually going on my channel to be like, look, I put 2 ads on every video. If you don't like it, you shut the fuck up. These are free. But
thanks, YouTube.
Before I said that, I was like, let me just watch a video and make sure something weird isn't going on, just in case. And I did, and it had like 30 mid-roll ads on it because it was like a 2-hour video. And I was like, what the fuck? So yeah, so get YouTube Premium, and then if you can afford it, get YouTube Premium. But like, I don't know what the next thing's gonna be, because just because they let us turn it off this time doesn't mean next time they're gonna let us turn it off.
And they made it really hard for you to turn it off. You had to go.
They did make it hard. You had to go through each video individually and turn it off.
And,
it takes time.
They could say it's not going to happen anymore. They could stop letting you skip ads. There's a lot of ways this can get worse. And the thing is, it's kind of a necessary thing from their business model because they need to grow revenue, which is always crazy. Why do you need to keep growing? You're so successful. Just be successful. Is that not enough? No, you got to grow. Okay, fine. That's problem 1. Problem 2 is that in addition to that, they're losing out. You know, the market has changed, and they will lose money to the advertisers because the advertisers aren't getting as much value out of being advertising anymore.
Well, this is because, and I've said this for years, YouTube's ads are terrible. Like, they do not target ads anywhere close to as well as Facebook. Facebook is just destroying them on ad targeting, number 1.
Sure.
So, like, as an advertiser...
Mostly by being illegal, by the way. But, I mean, that's another story entirely.
Yeah, I mean, they are violating the law in a number of ways. But including advertising to people based on race.
For housing. That was fun.
For housing, yeah. And, but yeah, like, and for me, that's just so whatever. Because, like, for me, I'm like, if you have $100,000, I would like your money. I don't care.
That doesn't matter.
You know,
especially for your business, but for other things, it does matter. You know. Oh dear. Oh hey.
Wow.
Yeah. There's the Canada things.
But anyway, so yeah, they're terrible at targeting ads. So like, you know, like you when you were watching my channel because we were sampling something or testing something, and you got a ball washing manscaping ad.
Which actually that means that they're targeting me rather than
that's relevant to you, but it's like that's like someone who is male and watching my channel would maybe get something out of that, but like anyone watching my channel would get something out of like tool ads or glue ads or, you know, whatever the fuck, right? So like if they were better about ads, companies that deal with what I do could buy ads on my channel, but they can't. And so instead what they do is they bypass YouTube altogether and they make deals with individuals to bypass the system. So, you know, hence will you please, we'll give you money, you talk up our markers or whatever, you know. And, you know, that makes more sense for the companies to do, but YouTube doesn't get a slice of that. And so they've got to figure that out. They've got to figure out how to incentivize companies to not work directly with the creators and to work directly with them. And the only way that they'll do that is if they get fucking better at targeting ads.
And I don't think that Target, you know, I do have very large, broad concerns about ad targeting and how that goes down. But I think that there is a room for it to work in everyone's favor still, without it being as problematic as it is already. Like, you can take it a step back on the problematic side while still having it be very, very effective and beneficial for the consumer and the advertising companies.
I think that what they could easily do is that they could easily say, make 100 more categories of video for you to classify your videos as. So, like, for example, my videos are in the how-to and style category because anything where you're teaching people how to do something has to fall in that bucket. But how-to and style is such a huge, like, you would literally have a carpenter and a fashion blogger.
It's too big.
And
it's too big.
It's too big. So there needs to be a DIY category so that we can be broken off, the DIYers, we can be broken off from the fashion. And then if they want to further break that down into, like, more, you know, like power tools type stuff, like have an auto shop one and a carpentry one.
Is smart enough to know that I'm doing video games and can figure out what game we're playing.
Yeah.
It can break it down. Right?
Yeah, so all you have to do is just make these categories once, and then you can sell so if Elmer's Glue wants to come along and it's back to school and they want a bunch of people to see their fucking glue, they can throw it on all the craft channels, right? And then all those people will be like, oh yeah, glue. You know, it seems so obvious. It's like, why is this not happening? They haven't changed the categories in forever.
And to a certain extent, that's a good thing. You don't want them changing them all the time. What the hell?
Why are you always in a kid zone?
Because it's a kid's game. Don't you know?
So anyways, just something else you can get demonetized for, by the way, is criticizing YouTube. So
we're off to a really great start of never getting monetized. At least you can get it all out over here and keep your main stuff monetized, because that actually makes you money.
Yeah.
That would suck if you lost monetization there. So get it all out of your system here.
Alright, I'll just get it all out of my system here. I actually am in excellent standing with the monetization team at YouTube. In fact, they recently notified me that I'm 100% accurate in my tagging of my videos for monetization purposes. And so that means that they trust me more so that I don't have to have my videos reviewed by a bot. So they're dumb, is what I'm saying. Yeah, here we go. Money. Okay, here, we're seeking video cooperation. Let me click on this. It's going to be markers. I know it's going to be markers. Oh, it's not markers. God bless it. This person obviously did their research because they sell jewelry making supplies.
Yeah, because clearly, oh my gosh, why?
Because that's what I do on my channel. I make jewelry, so that's cool. I'll be sure to not respond to that. Yeah, so I don't know. YouTube needs to figure it out because, like, they could make a lot more money. I mean, there are people who, depending on the video, they'll pay $5,000 and up for you to mention their shit on a video. Easy for some products, some creators. So if YouTube, I don't know. YouTube Premium is a much more pleasant experience. I've had it since I think 2016 or thereabouts. I know I had it during the last election because I didn't see any political ads at all. So obviously I must have had an ad blocker or YouTube Premium. But YouTube Premium also helps creators because usually the portion of your money that comes from YouTube Premium is a little bit better than the portion of your money that comes from just the straight ads. It's actually kind of works out better. So it helps creators more. So if you were not signing up for YouTube Premium because you wanted creators that you like to get money, they are getting money, sometimes more money from YouTube Premium, so they still get money from it. Okay, all right, now that we've talked about that, let's talk about how you want to kill all the mosquitoes on Earth.
Well, I mean, to be fair, you sent me this article where they're talking about killing all the mosquitoes on Earth, and I was like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Well, they're mostly talking about killing all the mosquitoes in South Florida. Right, because it was just the mosquitoes that carry the West Nile virus. Right? Why not?
They definitely want to minimize the excess mosquitoes that they kill, even though that seems crazy to me. But they want to kill the disease-carrying mosquitoes, which are primarily in the south of the country.
Right, so they're going to release into the Florida Keys. Maybe. They haven't done it yet. 750 million genetically modified mosquitoes that will cause some kind of issue where mosquitoes won't bite anymore is basically what it's going to do. The mosquitoes won't bite. And then it's going to kill, because pregnant mosquitoes bite, so and that's how they feed their larvae, so it'll eventually kill all their larvae, and then any mosquitoes that carry the Zika virus or West Nile virus will die. Right? That's what their plan is.
It's a good plan.
Also, they're gonna do Zika, dengue, chikungunya, and yellow fever. And they're gonna put their 750 million genetically modified mosquitoes out to hopefully, I assume, take over the population, and then in a generation or two they'll all die, right?
Yeah, because only females bite, and they can do this kind of stuff, and it will be. It's been done before, and it is very effective at killing localized populations. Obviously, these mosquitoes still exist in a large number of places, so it's not true genocide. But you can do a lot of work killing off a lot of mosquitoes with stuff like this.
Yeah. They've tested this already in Cayman Islands, Panama, and Brazil. And they have been able to reduce the species, like the non-genetically modified version of the species, by 95% in these areas. And so basically the World Health Organization and a number of other organizations have been talking about trying to kill all the mosquitoes on Earth, just in researching whether or not you could do it without harming the environment. And the reason why is because mosquitoes are not a primary pollinator for any plant species that we know of. And they're not a primary source of food for any animal species that we know of.
Mosquitoes fill no known niche in any ecosystem that we're aware of.
Right.
They are simply a pest. That thing is that we know of. Okay.
That we know of, right? Yeah. Yeah. So in other words, it's like, as far as we know, we could kill all the mosquitoes, and there are some downsides to that, and we can talk about what the major downside is, which is that people stop dying. And it could cause a population explosion. That's actually one of the negatives that they have.
They're a threat to us for a lot of reasons. Now, that's not an actual problem, but it is a thing that is realistically a concern.
Yeah, like the biggest issue is that the populations who generally suffer fatal diseases from mosquito bites wouldn't anymore, and so that cause of early death would go away. So, but it's the unknown unknowns that get you, right? It's always the unknown unknowns that get you.
That was a terrible strike. That should never have happened.
So yeah, Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe what we do is we just kill larger and larger and larger groups of mosquitoes, and then as long as nothing bad happens, we just keep killing. I mean, that's one way we could handle it.
Oh, too much. I've been on record as the person on this channel who is most in favor of genocide. I'm probably okay with killing every single mosquito on the planet.
Would you want to kill them in stages with a wait and see period in between?
I can see that being practical and safer, but yeah, screw it, kill them all.
Yeah, okay, so you just like go ahead and make however many trillions of these genetically modified mosquitoes we need. Get rid of them all.
Have all the sex you want mosquitoes, you're all gonna die.
Yeah. Alright, so the other big piece of news is that Apple is having beefs with everyone right now.
They sure are.
They're having so many beefs. They
So
have a beef with Epic, and they have a beef with Apple. No, they are Apple. With Google Stadia, and they have a beef with xCloud, Microsoft xCloud. Which means that they also, therefore, have a beef with Sony, sort of, by the transitive property. So they're beefing with the two, I don't know. Who would you say are the most important gaming companies? Probably Microsoft and Sony? I mean,
Sony,
and Epic.
I still think Nintendo might actually beat out Microsoft. Not as a, in terms of revenue and sales, I think Microsoft is winning there. But Nintendo's more important because Nintendo has the IP that matters. Mario matters more than anything that Microsoft does, right?
Yeah, I mean, Halo's cool, but yeah, it's not on the level of anything,
Zelda
like
matters.
Zelda.
Right.
Yeah.
So these things matter more, even though the money may be with Microsoft. Because Microsoft's all about selling you the subscription, so...
Right. Now, the reason why beefing with Epic matters is because they own Fortnite, right? So you're basically beefing with Fortnite.
And Fortnite and Apple are having real fight this week. It's been very entertaining to watch.
Yeah, it's a huge antitrust war that's like... And look, Apple is all about monopoly. They have had problems with this before. If you remember the leak of the emails where Steve Jobs actually got the big 5 publishing companies to work with him to price fix on Amazon. Yeah, so that Amazon wouldn't have an edge on ebook prices over iTunes or whatever. And that was actually found to be by the Justice Department and a monopoly, and you can't do it. And so Amazon did win that one. And more emails have leaked about Apple not wanting the Kindle app to be sold in their, or like you can't download it through iTunes and all this shit that they talked about internally. Like they didn't want you to be able to read a book on your iPad if it wasn't through iTunes or whatever. So yeah, they're super, compared to Google on this issue, they're really quite...
And Google's trying to go this way too, but they haven't been able to push it as far, and it's not been working out for them as they've tried. So I don't think it's going to succeed, especially now that Apple's getting pushback from companies like Epic. So it's going to be curious to see how that ends up going, certainly long term. But right now, we're seeing it play out in real time, and it was today or yesterday we got a temporary injunction in the case, so it's ongoing and moving fast. And it's not going in Apple's favor for the most part. Again.
It's not going Apple's way, and that's because Apple has big... I mean, if it was just Apple and Epic, that would be one thing, but it's Apple versus Epic versus Google versus Microsoft versus Sony, and that's a lot of people to fight, and, there's deep pockets all around. But Google and Microsoft and Epic, well, Epic doesn't have Microsoft money, but, well, wait, doesn't Tencent kind of own them?
Tencent has a majority share at this point, I think.
So then they do probably have Microsoft money. Yeah, so, yeah. I mean, it's one bully against 3 other bullies then at that point, so...
And then just, you can't take them all on at once. You don't want to fight a war on 3 fronts, right?
Right. Well, you probably don't. You do if you are the three fronts.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
if you're.
But
yeah,
I don't
if
think
you're
they're a
the,
coordinated front. They're just three people all going at the same issue at the same time. I don't think this
Yeah.
Epic and Microsoft and we're having a chat is like, yeah, now is when the time to go, guys. It's just
Well, they don't have to coordinate it like that, because what you could have is like there's some guy at Google whose whole job is to figure out ways to sue Apple. Like there's absolutely a guy at Google who that's his whole job. You know, he saw the Epic thing happen and he was like, all right, I'm putting a presentation together because we're going to do the same thing. And there's a guy at Microsoft whose whole job is to figure out how to sue Google, how to sue Apple. Tim Sweeney is still majority owner. Okay, so Tencent has a share, but not a majority share.
okay.
So
It's not that I
yeah.
doubt you, Whitepod, because you're never wrong, but I want to see if I can get the breakdown.
But like, you know, companies, for IP reasons, they have to sue each other all the time. So they have lawyers constantly trying to figure out ways to sue each other. And so when someone does start a lawsuit like this, it's easy for the other companies to put their own together and apply really a lot of pressure. Vox would like me to give them $3 so Vox could be free for everyone.
Oh my god, I didn't know this. They were
What?
founded as Potomac Computer Systems in Potomac, Maryland. That's just across the river.
Interesting.
Huh.
Do they have any kind
Mega
of...
Games in 92 to 1999? I think I bought games from them in that time period. I wonder what they had that was, because that sounds really, really familiar. Like, did they do One Must Fall? I feel that's one of theirs.
I mean, the big thing is, of course, the Unreal Engine.
Okay, so Tim Sweeney owns more than 50%. Tencent owns exactly 40%. I mean, probably not exactly, but something very, very close to it, per Wikipedia as of 2019.
So there's probably like a few randos who
A
own...
couple percent, probably other
Yeah.
employees of it, but it's so
Yeah.
Tim Sweeney owns a controlling percentage, but probably only very slightly, and Tencent owns essentially the rest. Now I gotta find out what they were publishing that I'm familiar with. So this was as Epic Mega Games. On the DOS archive. Epic Pinball, I played that a lot. Fine. Jazz Jackrabbit, of course. That makes sense. Yeah, these are all the ones I was expecting. Adventure Math, I don't think I actually ever played that one. Tyrion. They did Tyrion. Are you kidding me? Wow. Man, they were really successful in getting their games into the Windows operating system then. One Must Fall 2097. There you go. Same company.
Tencent acquired 48.4% of Epic, then issued share capital equating to 40% of total Epic, inclusive of both stock and employee stock options, for $330 million. Tencent has the right to nominate directors to the board, but they have little control over the creative output, per Tim Sweeney.
No, creative output is one thing, but
Yeah.
that just means what kind of games get made.
Sweeney calls the partial acquisition by Tencent Epic 4.0 the fourth major iteration of the company, allowing it to become more agile in the gaming marketplace.
Yeah, it's something, all right.
I mean, he is making some interesting moves. I mean, they're all pretty anti-consumer, but it's one of those things where, like, and he may believe this, okay, so I'm not trying to say he's a liar. But his whole thing is
You're allowed to
look,
say he's a liar on this channel because we're not monetized.
he might be lying. I don't know his mind, but his argument is that he has to be anti-consumer and do all this like exclusives and monopolies and stuff because the only company capable of taking down Steam and therefore providing more consumer options and providing more competition in the marketplace is another company the size of Steam with the resources of Steam. And so, you know, everything he's doing is all part of some like big plan to ultimately cripple Steam so that it doesn't have this stranglehold on the PC marketplace, right? So that's like basically his argument, as I understand it. But the thing is you have to ask yourself, when he wins against Steam, is he suddenly gonna like roll out the like consumer-friendly carpet and roll back all this other shit that he did and completely
money
change?
making.
No. He's going to just keep going. So it's, you know, that's why I say he may believe what he says, but I don't think it's how it's going to turn out.
That's not how companies have ever worked in the history of companies. Wipeout agrees that Tyrion was the bomb, and is the bomb, and it's still a good game. So they made some really good games in the day. You know, if you haven't played One Must Fall 2097, I highly recommend it. It's a really solid fighting game. Not hard, but, you know, challenging enough to be interesting. Has a pretty interesting story for a fighting game. Really good sound design, too. So, again, they made, and probably still make good games. I mean, Fortnite is hugely popular. You don't get to be popular if you're bad. It's not my style. It's not a game I'm interested in. I'm glad we played it for a bit, but it's not a game I'm going to go back to. But it is a hugely popular game. It's got to mean something.
I'm reading the section on how Gears of War got transferred to Microsoft. Apparently they were trying to shop it to 2K.
Well, I mean, 2K would be better than PlayStation. I am really unhappy with it. I don't even like Gears. I just like where it is.
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft is not the...
It's a really bad thing when Microsoft, with all the shit they're pulling off with Gears and whatnot, is the company that is seeming like the most consumer-friendly out of all of this. That's a bad look for gaming in general.
What's really interesting about Microsoft is that, like, in order to be consumer-friendly, they have to trade... well, I don't know if they have to, but it seems like they have traded on, you know, the sort of artistic element or the creative element. So it's like, you know...
What is the Champion District? Where's
the
Champion District?
They don't have, like, you know, like Nintendo and Sony have. Well, I mean, they have Halo. But, like, yeah, I don't know. They'll get it together eventually, or they won't. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna throw money at it for a long period of time, and they'll get something that's successful, right?
But yeah, like Fortnite is the real. Like, if you talk about something that friggin' must print money. I mean, they had a plot points for a Star Wars movie where you wouldn't understand the movie completely unless you played Fortnite. I mean, this is some
I watched
power.
the movie, and I thought it's just because I came in, right?
Right. So that's some power. I mean, that really, like, yeah. Yeah, they took a $250 million investment from Sony for 1.4%. So, how much did Tencent pay for their?
You said 330 million-ish?
330 million. So that
that's
just
a lot of money.
shows
That's not
you.
that much.
Yeah.
I mean, Microsoft has that money laying around, but instead of
when
putting it into PUBG,
Tencent invested
they put it
in
PUBG.
them, Epic was valued at 825 million. And so, yeah, Tencent investing 330 million, the math checks out. When Sony bought into it, they were valued at 17.3 billion. So, yeah. And yeah, I don't know. You know, whatever. I think
Huge win for Tencent.
He's probably just a lying liar who lies. And Tencent, you know, as we've been talking about for years, Tencent is a company you want to keep your eye on, because when they make a move in a direction, that thing's probably about to become big. Like, they have a lot.
They understand where things are and where they're going much better than any American company seems to.
Right. And that's probably because they're spying on everyone. But then that doesn't explain why Jeff Bezos doesn't invest in these things, because Alexa's spying on everyone.
My guess is that Bezos has enough money on other things. He doesn't care about video games as much. Although he's trying, but then they fail, right? So
He's so bad. He's so bad. Yeah. I mean, one area where Amazon is really does seem to be struggling is with the games. But like, you have to ask yourself why you would make an MMO about colonialism. Like, why that even makes sense to do.
Like, I really like Seven Cities, which is a game about colonialism, but it's a trading sim, right? So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it's not a game where you're actively going to colonize people, right?
Yeah, I mean, you do have some really strange things going on in there that are probably problematic, and when I say probably problematic, I mean they are problematic, but they're also historical. So it's just history is problematic, so...
Right, except that the colonialism game that Amazon made is in some fantasy world.
Oh god,
so,
why?
Yeah.
Never mind.
So it's not, they don't even have the, well, it's a history game, so get over it. This shit happened.
Yeah.
And it's kind of coded as, you know, the New World circa 17th century or whatever. So it seems like it's historical, but it's not. It's some fantasy land, is my understanding. Anyway, that got pushed back because people said the beta sucked. But does it? Or is that just what they're saying now that they're like, maybe we shouldn't be making colonialism games?
Oh, that's right. I can't post on YouTube. I can only send it to Twitch, so I have to log into YouTube to do this thing. What a pain. I was going to post the link to the thing. So I'll get onto YouTube. Make sure I'm on the right account. What a pain.
Okay. Well, anyways, just basically, it's a good thing that these companies are all trying to destroy each other, because it's not like the federal government is going to do their job and take a look at them.
They're not. The government is and I was talking about this with some other folks earlier today. It's like, you know, there's benefits to this. I'm happy about this in a certain sense. I would like my government to be inactive most of the time. Let's keep this up.
Well, it's one of those things where, like, Noam Chomsky gets asked, like, if you're an anarchist, why do you support, like, an expansion of government power? And his answer is typically that, well, there are threats to the people, that the government can put itself in between the people and those threats, then the government should. So, and he, of course, sees these corporations as threats. So that's kind of his rationale. And I do think that he's partially right, and then the people who are like, just stop, because you don't ever fix anything, you just make things worse and worse and worse. I think that what you have is part of the reason why they make things worse and worse and worse is because they're not trying to put themselves between these corporations and the people. You know, because that's where their major donors are from. So they're not fulfilling that function. You know, so when they expand their power, it doesn't benefit the people. And so I think that we need to have a conversation. It's like, I'm okay with some government expansion, but it has to be literally on behalf of the people. And by the people, I mean the 99%. You know. Right.
So I don't think that is actually the answer. Which is why I think we're seeing more and more, you know, nihilism, and it's people turning to violence. They're like, okay, we're not going to get what we want out of the governmental system. We're going to take it into our own hands, and I can't fight the corporate power, so I guess we're just going to have riots in the streets now or something, right? So that's not good. But it's understandable where it's coming from, because when you have a system that doesn't work like that, where you can't trust the people who are in power to do the right thing, you end up with nihilistic violence.
Well, this is how the French Revolution started, and this is how the Communist Revolution started in the Soviet Union.
So
well,
let's get
in
back
Russia.
To me being a communist for a second, because
yeah.
I'm not, obviously. Whoa. I'm, generally speaking, fairly conservative, I would say. We have interesting conversations where, you know, I think we go back and forth on our levels of conservatism, and I like that we can have frank discussions and push each other in interesting directions about these things, but generally speaking, I'm going to be the more conservative of the two of us, I would say, and that doesn't mean a whole lot if you are super liberal, but you're not super liberal.
Right.
You are middle of the road, have your liberal moments, conservative, you're right, so I'm conservative. But there are times when I get really cranky, and there are certainly a lot of positions I have which are completely in keeping with a lot of liberal things. I can talk to people who are very liberal and say, yeah, we totally agree. This whole thing is messed up. So you sent me a fantastic meme, which was Marx versus Marx. And it was Karl Marx, his actual writings, versus someone who's claiming to be a Marxist but is actually just a leftist. Right? And someone who holds any real Marxist beliefs, but that says, you know, sure, I believe in theory that the means of production should be controlled by the people rather than the proletariat, and that whole thing. But they don't know what it means, they haven't read the book. And what Marx actually said...
That book is super boring.
It is a boring book. I've read the book. It's
so boring.
It's not good. It's not a good book.
I mean, the whole section with the coat is excruciating. You know, like it's just, yeah. I'm glad they made it into a graphic novel because it was rough. It's rough going. Anyway, continue.
I have read it mostly because I was a political science major at one, and not because I had any real desire to read it and be, you know, it's tough, right? So anyway, this was a meme, and it was showing those differences, and so in those differences, I of course agreed with none of the points of the leftist Marx, but every single one of the points that the Karl Marx actually wrote about, I was like, yeah, totally, I get you, let's do this. So my response to you was, when did I become a Marxist?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, some of the... How to say this? Like, there are things that Marx was for that are seen now as conservative. So, for example, Marx was extremely pro-guns, pro-bombs, pro-whatever weaponry existed. The working class must arm themselves to the best of their ability, and they must prevent their weapons from being taken away at all costs. Like, that would today be seen as an incredibly conservative belief to hold. But it, you know, it goes into that libertarian, and by libertarian I mean the opposite of authoritarian, not the current political party. The libertarian idea that the only way to prevent yourself from being overwhelmed by an authoritarian system is to be armed as heavily as the potential authoritarian system, right?
Which you cannot be at this point.
Which you can't be because you don't have a drone,
right.
Or a nuclear weapon. You don't have a drone,
you don't have a tank, you don't have RPGs. If you do, you probably shouldn't.
Right. But, you know, but in Marx's time, it was much simpler.
Yes. The guns
for
were
workers.
easier to come by and a lot easier to use. Well, not necessarily use, but there was no disparity. It was manpower disparity rather than firepower disparity.
So, basically what you have is you have a situation where Karl Marx is now a conservative. In this way, you know, in this specific way.
Which, you know, that's the way of the world. People, like, I was listening to the Camille Paglia interview that she gave with Tyler Cohen, which, not his best work, very awkward. Camille Paglia does not give good interviews anymore, I think.
I was going to say, she's a super weird person now. She's she's extremely smart, but, like, she comes across very weird now in interviews. Yeah.
And I think that's because, you know, she's getting older, and she's not as sharp as she used to be. She's still very smart, but she isn't at the top of her game anymore.
Well, and she was always better as a writer, I think.
Yes.
Anyway.
Absolutely, and I think she still is. Even she writes much more sharply now because she's able to give it time, and she thinks slow, and she talks fast, right? So that's part of it. But anyway, that was not the best interview. But, you know, he asks her, you know, you say these things which are very much culturally conservative things. Are you a conservative? And if not, why not? and she rejected the idea, but she rejected it in a way that was not very convincing, because she does have ideas that are conservative now, and it's not the ideas that she's had, it's that the society has changed. And that's what happens. Society changes, and if you stay put, what used to be radical can become conservative, and so that's what we're seeing with Marx to a certain extent. Not universally, but that is just the way of it in general. So that by itself doesn't surprise me. But you ended up bringing religion into it as well, which I thought was also pretty interesting because it had some reality there as well, based on my religious beliefs and historical religious beliefs. Because, you know, Marx was not pro-religion, but he was steeped in religion, right? Everyone in his universe was religious, and so therefore he spoke to them about and with religion in his toolkit.
Well, and, like, you know, I'm looking at the Karl Marx versus Karl Marx meme now, which I did post it in the chat. And it's the first one, which is on class. The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles. And then there's a dash on the modern Karl Marx there. And I don't think there should be, because there's discussion now happening around, like, if you say that the more pressing tension in the United States is class, not race, and that race is used to divide the working class to keep the elites in power, at least in part, like, that's a tool in their toolbox, let's say, or a weapon in their arsenal, is that they like people to be fighting about race, because then they're not in solidarity with each other on class, and it makes it easier for them to maintain their power, right? Which is why Jeff Bezos renames a stadium whatever the fuck instead of actually doing anything useful, you know? And so I think that even on class, they're not, the two Karl Marxes are not in agreement now.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I would also say on transgender issues, probably the old-timey Karl Marx wouldn't have given a shit.
He would have, like, I don't even understand the words you're using.
And he would have just said that it's not a big deal because we'll all just call each other comrade, right? So, you know, I don't know that he would have cared, and I don't think it's necessarily fair that he has a dash there, but I guess he never said anything, so... But yeah, so I don't think the class is fair. I do think there's disagreement on class now. Under no pretext should arms and they're totally in disagreement on arms. And the social grievance thing, you know, I really do feel like if we were to solve the class problem, that would probably help the day-to-day lives of a lot of people, where we would have more room to talk about other identities, because typically social movements have been most successful in times of prosperity, you know, because people they're not as stressed and they can think about it and they can have more empathy because they're not fighting over resources as much. So
well, I'm going to hit the safe spot.
Alright.
And we'll probably end up calling it there. But yeah, revolutionary thought is on a lot of people's minds, and we've had a situation in the United States again this week where police authority shot a man in the back and have paralyzed him. And people are upset, and they've had it, and they're demonstrating that, and that is not healthy. It's not healthy that a man was shot. It's not healthy that there's no healthy response, and it's not healthy that the response is this violence. And the end result is either things change, or they continue on as they are, and we will see further iterations of this violence. And it'll get worse.
Well, and we just had our budget go, you know, they're doing the budget right now in Tampa, and there was they like specifically said we're not defunding the police in any way, shape, or form.
But are they increasing the budget? Yeah, I would take even not increasing it to be a victory in certain senses.
Let's see. The thing is that the current mayor of Tampa used to be the police chief of Tampa.
Yeah, so probably not then.
Tampa not defunding police. Google. Okay, so
Let's spend our ability points too, because we've got 393 experience points again. I spent almost all of them, so we got a lot of experience here tonight. That's awesome.
So even in response to the question, does the department need reform? She said that's a difficult question to answer, because if the community feels that there needs to be change, then that's something we have to listen to. So that's a no in politician.
Yeah, it's a politician's no.
Yeah. I believe it goes back to that communication. When we changed the way that we police in the city of Tampa back in 2003 and committed to that partnership with all of our residents, there were some that said, complaints are going to rise as crime reduces, and that wasn't the case. I don't know what the hell she's talking about, because I didn't live here then.
Yeah, that sounds bad.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like they did some weird shit in 2003. So, are you or the Tampa Police Department being treated unfairly by protesters, activists, or the media? I don't look at this as an issue of fairness. I know that on everyone's part there's a great deal of grief, anger, and anxiety. Okay, so should the Tampa Police Department be defunded? We're asking the police to do too much. We take funding away from other areas: education, mental health, workforce development, transportation, and then all of those issues fall in the lap of the police force. So our officers are asked to be mental health experts, and they're asked to be teachers, and they're asked to be counselors, and that's something we need to look at. Tampa Police Department handles over 1 million calls a year. There is a need for money, but we need to look at the balance, and that's why I'm focused on systemic issues where we can make a difference in. And that's in workforce development, housing affordability, transportation, social justice, sustainability, and resiliency. So if she were to actually work on those things, that would reduce policing. I mean, if you if you fix housing problems, for example, they have fewer interactions with the homeless, etc. But I don't know. So no cuts, not at this time. So I think that's where we're at.
That about settles it. That's going to solve all of our problems.
Yep.
Yeah, the 7 bullets seemed a little excessive. See, here's the thing. The way that police are trained, it's not necessarily. And that's not the policeman's fault. I don't know enough about this situation to say whether he's at fault or not. But the training is that once you are in the situation where you are at fear for your life, that you're drawing the weapon and you're firing the weapon, it doesn't matter anymore. You can empty the clip. And so how many bullets are in the clip? 10? 14?
I think that they're trained, in fact, to lean towards emptying the clip. Right, they're also trained to shoot at the center body mass. They're not trained to shoot anywhere else on the body. And there's 2 reasons for that. One is that this is per police PR. Okay, so this is what they say. One is that any gunshot wound can be fatal no matter where it is on the body, so there's no unfatal place to shoot a person.
Right. Shooting them in the leg doesn't do any good and is actively harmful in many cases.
Right, and then B, police aren't that good at shooting, so that's why they have them.
Marksmen, they're actually not, shall we say, trained marksmen, because they don't spend. Most of them do not spend enough time actually practicing with their sidearm.
Well,
to be
they're not, and they're not in combat on a regular basis like a soldier deployed in Afghanistan would be, or something like that. So yeah, I mean, it's a training problem for sure. And a lot of police don't receive de-escalation training. That's another issue, you know. So they don't handle these encounters well. It's also a huge problem that they're overarmed for sure. And you know, you could make the argument for SWAT or for warrant squads having, you know, better weaponry and equipment. Sure. I mean, I would hear that argument. But the cops that are going to talk to the homeless guy on the corner, they don't need to be so heavily armed as they are. And they should also all have tasers for starters, you know. And other, I mean, it's just, they're so bad. It's not their fault. I want to say that, like, it is their fault in some cases, but they are not trained well. They don't
No.
receive anywhere close to the amount of training that the United States Army receives, for example.
Because they're not soldiers.
Right. But then they're given the weapons of soldiers, and they're given the body armors of soldiers, and then
they're
they're
asked
put
to do
on
soldier-like tasks. They're also asked to be
yes.
all kinds of things that they are also not trained for. They
Right.
trained for, I think I saw this statistic earlier today, 692 hours on average across the entire country. That's a lot of hours, but it's not enough
Yeah.
to do all the things that they need to do. Whereas
Right.
hairdressers in the United States, on average, need like 3,000 hours of training. So
Yeah.
clearly there's a disparity in our priorities, and partially that's unions, and partially that's protectionism. So the existing hairdresser wants to make it harder for new hairdressers to come in, and the police, as a monopoly, don't have that limitation, and they just want to get policemen in as quickly as possible. Another part with the training is that as soon as the training is done, so you have the police academy, they come in and they are ingrained in a culture that says, forget everything you just learned, rookie. We're going to tell you how we do things really on the streets, and it's completely different, and it's really bad. So you
Right.
have all of that going on in a lot of police departments, and it's just not okay. And oftentimes the solution to something as bad as this is clean sweep it. So if your police department isn't working, get rid of it. Do something different.
What I would tell people who see this as a binary issue where you cannot think that we ask too much of police and that all cops are bastards. And I know I have said that, okay, and that is because they're trained to be that way. That's the culture. But that can stop. They don't have to be trained that way, and they don't have to be put in that culture. There are cities where they have reversed this in the United States through comprehensive programs of getting rid of the union, de-escalation training, investing more in social workers who can talk to, take some of these calls so that the police aren't interacting with the public as much. And then communities, sort of security type people who are kind of like cops. They're just not heavily armed, or in some cases not armed at all, who are doing early intervention with small crimes and things like that, where they're not even interacting with the police if they're committing small crimes like shoplifting. And they have been done in U.S. cities. And the cities where these programs have been put in place have far fewer fatal police shootings than similarly sized cities with similar numbers of police interactions with the public. So the answers are out there. There's nothing we can do about it. We just have to throw up our hands. That's not correct. There's a ton of research that's been done. And if you care about police, you should want this all to happen, because it saves police lives too. Mm-hmm. So
it'll save a lot of lives, not
yeah.
Saving any life is what matters, because remember, all lives matter.
So if you're on the thin blue line side of this issue, please do some research, because 70% of police marriages end in divorce. They're all alcoholics. They all have horrific PTSD. This is a horrible, terrible job, and we make it like that. It doesn't have to be like that. So, you might want to support some of these initiatives, because it will actually make lives better for police if that's what you care about. And if you don't, then I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But
I don't think that is much of an issue for anybody who's gotten to this point, though. But, yeah. That's the problem. We preach mostly to the choir.
I don't know. Well, I would be fine with defunding the police. I mean, someone should run an experiment with that. I would like a city to just get rid of it and see what happens.
Well, we're starting to see some experiments in that direction.
Yeah. So let's just see what getting completely rid of them. But yeah, you can look at Camden, New Jersey, and see what they did. They've had a lot of success in this area.
Camden, New Jersey is definitely one of the best stories in policing, and yeah, I think that is a society that has been substantially improved in a lot of ways. And one of the things, once you start to see progress, one thing turns into another thing that is also good, and people are going to take away from that Camden's result, the situation in Camden got better because these other things were also getting better. you can't get better at one thing without also making things better across the board, generally speaking. So,
right, like they'll point to in Camden that like they got better at like social work, and it's
Right.
like that part of defunding the police is that money goes to social work, and then
so
you can
change the things you can, you control the things you can, and the things you can't control tend to be moving in the same direction as the ones you can control.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's absolutely solutions. There's no need to throw up your hands. And if you don't know what to do, go to Campaign Zero, because that is the science and research arm of Black Lives Matter. And they have a ton of information on their website that makes it easy to understand what kind of changes could reasonably be made. And that aren't, it's not impossible. It's just not impossible to have a world without police as we know them today. It's just not. But in the meantime, you can always just put your head in the sand, because that's probably better for your blood pressure. So just
Don't
go,
step on the scale. Just don't step on the scale.
Don't watch the news, and don't step on the scale, and you'll be fine.
Unless
You
you're the person who
wouldn't.
gets shot by the cop 7 times.
Until then, and then it's like, oh, I guess I should have paid attention to this problem.
Sorry.
The
Not
good
making
news
it better.
is that in the meantime, someone is putting Trump stickers on bears. So
And people are very upset about this.
people are really mad.
Very upset.
I loved the one comment that was like, this bear already has to wear a heavy collar, and now this. And I'm like, as if the Trump sticker is the thing the bear is most pissed about.
The bear has no idea what's going on. But
The bear doesn't.
It's definitely bear baiting.
Yes. Yeah.
We'll have
Yeah.
to start with that next week, because I don't think that's given it enough. But something to look forward to. A little bit of humor.
Yeah, Trump stickers on bears. I did see a good comment that someone should start putting Mitch McConnell stickers on turtles.
Who would be able to tell?
Well, I think that's the point, right? So yeah, check out Campaign Zero and give them some money, and then go back to sleep, and then you can at least sleep easy,
And then buy our AOC posters on eBay.
And buy our AOC posters on eBay. That's right. And get a Karl Marx tattoo. So.
All right. Good night, everyone. We'll see you again